Chapter 2907. On the way back, it was still Lin Yi and Qi together. Qi himself didn't think that he'd actually passed the test. He knew that the hidden house Zhao was here to send him to his death, he knew that, and while he had Lin Yi's protection, Zhao Qi was still a little worried before he came. After all, no matter how strong Lin Yi was, he couldn't protect everyone. He didn't expect that they would pass the test and get the pill, but the hidden house Zhao was gone. Qi didn't know how to face the hidden house Zhao now. His family stood against him after he left. Although his grandpa and Zhao Qibing wouldn't dare do anything to him after he went back, living in a house like this was a tragedy and torture. Lin Yi looked at Qi unhappy face and patted his shoulder, sighing. Let's go. There are some things you can't choose. Can you choose your grandpa? That's true. Qi smiled bitterly. What should I do when I go back? I really don't know what the point of me staying in House Zhao is. My grandpa, why is he so stubborn? Is it just because Zhao Qibing gave him a qi-gathering pill that he let him become the head of the house? Some things are formed under the circumstances of a strange combination of factors. Now I can't explain it. Under the circumstances at that time, old Zhao's decision was understandable. But now, I have to say that he was very short-sighted. Yeah. Qi nodded. Even the ancient sects have a few of them calling you their boss. My grandpa really is, one step at a time, we'll see. With Lin Yi's current position, the way he thought about things was different. In the past, he didn't dare touch the hidden House Zhao and House Yu because he wasn't strong enough. So, he kept their relationship at a balance point, and no one would take a step further. But now, Lin Yi could totally wipe out any hidden house. Qi nodded and got in the jeep with Lin Yi, heading home. Tian Chan stood far away, quietly watching as Lin Yi got in the car and drove off. She sighed. Endless sorrow after parting with you, we'll always be together, and there will be many obstacles in the future. Naturally, Lin Yi didn't know that behind him stood a girl who missed him. Tian Chan didn't attend the award ceremony, and Lin Yi thought that Tian Chan had already returned to Five Elements sect and wouldn't show her face again. These days, Tianli had been selling everything he had, borrowing from all over the place, but he still couldn't get 200 million. He only managed to get 40 million, and transferred it all to Lang Xiao's account. Just when he was anxiously waiting for the news, Lang Xiao brought him a bolt out of the blue. Boss Lu, it's bad. Because we didn't meet the deadline and gathered enough money to pay the smuggler found the border guards of that small country and reported the news of our smuggling. As a result, the border guards seized all our goods, Xiao Chun said sadly. What? Tianli couldn't help but be shocked, as if he had fallen into an icehouse. Although he was hypnotized, it was only because of his unlimited trust in Little Pure and the belief that this business would bring him a lot of money. Now that his business was in trouble, Tianli was still shocked. He almost had a heart attack. That snakehead, why didn't he follow the rules? It's not like we're not giving him the money, we're just delaying it for a while, why did he? I didn't have a choice, they're all desperados. I want to talk to them, but they won't meet me. Xiaochun sighed, troubled. Why don't I try to find a way through the political connections here and see if I can pass the message? Lu Tianli hesitated. He really didn't want to use House Lu's political connections for this, but the situation was urgent, and he had no other choice. If he didn't use them, then House Lu would be done for. Smuggling was a disgrace to House Lu, but they hadn't done it yet, right? House Lu just had to be flexible and say that the goods were going to be imported legally, but they were confiscated when they were being transported to the small country. That way, things would work. CO Lu, are you sure you can use your connections? The goods we're smuggling this time are prohibited goods. Xiaochun reminded. Isn't it just tobacco? We're smuggling, but I can be flexible and say that we're going to import legally. Tianli was shocked, but he wasn't stupid. He quickly thought of a solution. CO Lu, this isn't just tobacco, it's drugs. Xiaochun said. What? Drugs? Tianli was shocked. He couldn't believe it. He almost threw the phone in his hand on the floor. How did cigarettes become drugs? He took a deep breath and came back to his senses. Isn't it cigarettes? How did it become drugs? Co Lang, you're not joking, are you? Haha. This joke isn't funny at all. Co Lu, do you think I'm joking with you? Xiaochun said faintly. There's nothing special in those cigarettes. How can they be so good to smoke? That's... Tianli froze, only remembering after Boss Lang reminded him. That's right, why were these cigarettes so good to smoke, and addictive to the point of it? Could there really be drugs in them? But why didn't he think of it before? Of course, what Tianli didn't know was that it wasn't that he didn't think of it, but that he was hypnotized and didn't think in that direction at all. The hypnotist suppressed his thoughts. Co Lang, you tricked me? Tianli roared. Director Lu, I thought you knew what was going on, Xiaochun said calmly. Co Lu, I thought you knew it yourself, Xiaochun said slowly. I don't do drugs, how would I know? Tianli raged. I don't take drugs, how would I know? Tianli raged. All the bosses I know smoke cigarettes, how would I know you don't? Xiaochun said. I saw that you didn't raise any doubts before, so I thought we had a tacit understanding. The purity of this cigarette is so high that people who have never smoked before will feel uncomfortable. I saw that Mr. Lu was enjoying it, so I didn't think too much about it. Chapter 2908. What do I do? I don't have a solution right now. Compared to money, my life is more important. That smuggler said that if I keep causing trouble, he'll kill me. I think, Mr. Lu, I don't want the goods anymore. I don't want the money anymore. If you have the ability, then get the goods out yourself. I'll give it all to you. I don't want to do this anymore. Xiaochun's voice sounded really down. What? Tianli panicked. Mr. Lang, that's not right. If you leave now, what will I do? You have to know that I'm the one who invested the most money in this. That's why I'm saying, Mr. Lu, if you have the ability, then get the goods out and give it all to you, Xiaochun said. But how am I supposed to get the drugs? I can't use my connections at all. Not to mention using my connections, even if this gets out, it'll be a fatal blow to House Lu, Tianli said worriedly. House Lu was in the medicine business, and if they got involved with drug trafficking, they'd be done for. That's not within my consideration, Mr. Lu. I'm sorry, but I don't think there's any point in working with us anymore. We'll never meet again. With that, Xiaochun hung up and said goodbye to Tianli. Mr. Lang. Mr. Lang, you can't do this. Hello? Hello? Fuck you. Tianli couldn't help but curse when he heard Xiaochun hang up on him. He smashed his phone onto the floor, breaking it into pieces. Tianli breathed heavily, his right hand clutching his chest. His face was twisted, and because of his anger, his eyes were bloodshot. It was a terrifying sight. Mr. Lu, what's wrong? Secretary Zhang heard the sound of the phone smashing on the floor and quickly walked into Tianli's office. What was that sound? Mr. Lu, your phone, Tianli took a deep breath. He knew that there was no point in getting angry now. He had to think of a solution. The most important thing right now was to contact Mr. Lang. After all, he didn't even know who the smuggler was. How was he supposed to find a connection? He could only count on Mr. Lang now. Tianli wondered if he could get Mr. Lang to think of a solution. Up until now, he had not doubted Lang's own. It had to be said that the hypnotist's ability was very powerful. Director Lu, don't be angry. What exactly happened? Secretary Zhang felt a little strange and could only ask carefully. Give me your phone and replace my SIM card on the floor. Tianli didn't explain much as he ordered Secretary Zhang. Okay, Mr. Lu. Secretary Zhang nodded and picked up the phone parts on the ground. He found Tianli's SIM card and put it into his phone before passing it to Tianli. All right, you can leave now. Tianli waved his hand, signaling the secretary to leave. There were some things he didn't want Secretary Zhang to know too much. If the news of him dealing drugs and the company losing money were to be leaked, it would be a huge scandal. The company might even be on the verge of bankruptcy. Tianli didn't dare spread the news. Yes. Secretary Zhang didn't know what was going on, but he didn't dare to ask. He could only leave the office respectfully. After Secretary Zhang left, Tianli dialed Co Lang's number again, but there was a cold voice on the other side. I'm sorry, the number you have dialed is either switched off or not within the service area. Please check and dial again later. Tianli was stunned. Lang, you're too much. Tianli was furious when he heard that Mr. Lang's phone was switched off. He wanted to smash his phone again, but he held himself back and dialed Mr. Lang's assistant, Cui Mianshir's number. But what drove Tianli crazy was that Cui Mianshir's phone rang with the same tone. His phone was turned off. Yes, Secretary Zhang. This time, Tianli truly believed it. Mr. Lang really wanted to leave. It wasn't fake. It was real. Mr. Liu. Secretary Zhang heard Tianli's call and quickly came back. He didn't know what he did to piss off Tianli. Was that a curse? Check 2 numbers for me immediately. See if you can locate the location of the most recent calls from these 2 numbers. With that, Tianli wrote down the 2 numbers on a piece of paper and passed it to Secretary Zhang. He didn't say who these 2 numbers belonged to or what the use was. It's best if you can find out the registered information of these 2 numbers as well, Tianli said. Secretary Zhang nodded. Yes. Secretary Zhang got the numbers and went to work. With Tianli's position in the company, it was a piece of cake for him to investigate these things. Secretary Zhang had a lot of acquaintances. Soon, Secretary Zhang reported the results of the investigation to Tianli. What shocked him was that these 2 numbers never left Yanjing at all. They didn't go to that small country at all, and other than calling him, they didn't talk to anyone else at all. This was basically impossible. Mr. Lang wasn't doing business with him alone. Besides, how could they have been in Yanjing all this time? This didn't make sense at all. At this time, even if Tianli trusted Mr. Lang blindly, he realized the problem. He seemed to have fallen into an elaborate trap. Mr. Lang had been lying to him from the start. What the hell is this? This name can be registered on a phone card? Tianli pointed at the list of phone numbers Secretary Zhang brought over. These people are called Wolf Mother Kerr and Chui Mother Kerr? Who would have names like that? This? Secretary Zhang was a bit speechless at these 2 names, but he didn't know why Tianli would be so fixated on these 2 names. He could only say weakly, there are all sorts of strange things in this world. What they call themselves is their freedom, Fu. Tianli's breathing became messy after realizing that he had been tricked. Since these 2 were lying to him, it was normal for them to call themselves Wolf Mother Kerr. It was already good enough that they didn't call themselves Mother Kerr. The most important thing now wasn't to think about these 2's names, he needed to find their whereabouts. Secretary Zhang, get me the information on Mr. Lang right now. I want to see it. Chapter 2909. Tianli, on the other hand, picked up a cigarette, lit it up, and put it in his mouth, frowning. But after taking a puff, he suddenly realized that the cigarette he was smoking was the drug that Mr. Lang gave him. Tianli was scared as if he had been stung by a scorpion. He quickly threw the cigarette on the ground and put it out with his foot. I'm dead, I'm dead! Tianli waved his hand as he continued thinking about the whole thing. Why did he suddenly do something stupid? Why did he believe Mr. Lang's words? Why did he smoke his cigarette? Not only did he smoke it, but he didn't notice anything wrong with it. Tianli couldn't think of a reason no matter how much he thought about it. In the end, Tianli felt that he wanted House Lu to leave Lin Yi too much, and he wanted to find a way out for House Lu himself. That was indeed the case. If Tianli didn't have his own selfish desires, he would never work with Xiaochun on this cigarette business. It was his greed that allowed the hypnotist to take advantage of him. Businessmen were after profits, and it was understandable that Pingzhan got tricked. After all, Pingzhan Industries was a multifaceted group, and Pingzhan Industries was his own boss. Chu Pingzhan's greed was being exploited by the hypnotist. But Tianli couldn't get away with being tricked. House Lu's current business was fully supporting Lin Yi's Miracle Dr. Guan Medicine Company. This was also the foundation that Elder Jinhu and Lu Jinghan had set for House Lu's future. But Tianli always felt that if they relied on Lin Yi, wouldn't House Lu be done for if Lin Yi died one day? And so, because of his selfishness, Tianli was successfully hypnotized by the hypnotist. Otherwise, if a person had no selfish motives, no matter how powerful the hypnotist was, he wouldn't fall for it if he had a strong will. Tianli held his head, troubled, but he didn't know what to do. Now that something like this happened to the company, how was he going to tell his family? The most important thing was, how was he going to face Lin Yi? Lin Yi. Would he kill him? Not only did he lose House Lu's company, but he also lost the distributor's money and the money he used to buy raw materials from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Without this money, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company would fall into a cash flow crisis. Tianli knew the severity of the situation, but the more serious it was, the more he didn't dare to confess. Tianli picked up a cigarette and put it in his mouth. He was about to light it up when he suddenly remembered that it was drugs. But even knowing that it was drugs, Tianli still couldn't pull himself away. His hands were shaking, and he wanted to throw the cigarette away, but he didn't know if it was because of the addiction or because he couldn't resist the temptation of the cigarette, but he still lit it up with trembling hands. Now I have to think of a way. It's fine if I smoke. It won't be too late to quit smoking after I think of a way. Tianli thought to himself. However, he couldn't think of any way at all. When the cigarette entered his mouth, it brought him an indescribable sense of comfort and relief. It made him temporarily forget about his troubles and this matter. Tianli felt like he was on cloud 9. At this moment, he felt that nothing else mattered except for the cigarette. Secretary Zhang took a long time this time. After all, investigating a company and investigating 2 phone numbers were 2 different things. But Secretary Zhang was still quite capable. After going through a few business associations, he still managed to find Mr. Lang's company. However, the company's information made Secretary Zhang frown. Of course, this wasn't something that Secretary Zhang could worry about. He went straight to Tianli's office after getting the information. Seeing the cigarette butts all over the floor, Secretary Zhang paused for a moment, but still said respectfully, "Mr. Lu, I've got the information. Please take a look. Put it over there." Tianli was smoking comfortably. He didn't care about anything else right now, and he wasn't in a rush to look at the information. "Okay." Secretary Zhang didn't dare to say anything else. He put the information down and left. After a long time, Tianli finally woke up from his addiction. He remembered about the information and quickly picked it up. But when he flipped to the first page, he froze. President Lang's company was registered in Bermuda. There was no extra relevant information. What could be found were the advertisements and encyclopedia introductions about this company on the search engine. However, these things could not be used as any basis at all. These things could be changed by anyone. Tianli threw the information aside and sighed bitterly. Indeed, since the other party had decided to lie to him, they wouldn't let him find any evidence against them. There was no way they would leave any real information for him to investigate. Sigh. Tianli lowered his head helplessly, his hands grabbing at his hair. He didn't know how to face this. He could only pick up another cigarette and start smoking. 2 disciples of the Dark Palace picked up 2 herbs from the corpses and successfully exchanged them for a chi-gathering pill at the award ceremony. Although the time needed to make it wasn't certain, this was the only way for the Palace Master of the Dark Palace to break through to Sky Class. If the Palace Master still couldn't accept the inheritance at Sky Class, then they would have to find another inheritor. The pressure on the Dark Palace would be huge. The return of the 2 disciples was praised by the highest elder. "You 2 did a good job. You were able to pass such a dangerous heavenly elixir sect trial. We will do our best for the Grand Elder. No matter how dangerous it is, we will try our best," the 2 disciples said flatteringly. But we only got 2 herbs. That's a bit regretful. Why didn't you guys get more?" the Grand Elder asked. We We had a lot of elixirs to begin with, but who knew that this Lin Yi guy would come in and take all of it? The two disciples from the Dark Palace had been holding a grudge against Lin Yi since the beginning. If it weren't for Lin Yi, they would have gotten a lot of elixirs with Nipale, much more than just these two. But they never thought about what happened when they helped Nipale scam Lin Yi's friends. Chapter 29:10. They told the Grand Elder about how despicable Lin Yi was, how hateful he was for stealing their elixirs, adding oil and vinegar to the story. On one hand, they wanted to push the blame away, and on the other hand, they wanted the Grand Elder to take revenge on Lin Yi, who made them lose face. Nipale was the one who started it, but he was from the everyday sect, and they couldn't afford to piss him off. Nipale took them in as followers and even gave them benefits, so they didn't hold a grudge. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was a freelancer, and he was the disciple of an ancient sect. How could they accept that? What? Lin Yi? The Grand Elder paused. Why did the name sound so familiar? Then she suddenly thought of who this person was. Is it the wild man beside that little bitch? He's participating in the Sky Elixir test? Isn't he in Earth class? You two aren't his match? Ah? The two disciples paused. Why did it sound like the Grand Elder knew Lin Yi? And so, Disciple A asked carefully, Grand Elder, do you know that Lin Yi? You don't have to worry about this, I know. The Grand Elder waved her hand, signaling the two to leave. She, on the other hand, frowned. Everyone could see the anger in her heart. Mingyao's people were bullying the Dark Palace. Wasn't this a blatant provocation? Men! The Grand Elder took a deep breath and yelled. Grand Elder, what's the matter? The one on duty today was elderly, and he was outside the door. He heard the two disciples' conversation loud and clear, and he was quite happy. The Miss Bodyguard was this strong? How could an Earth stage cultivator get a place in the Heavenly Elixir Sex trial? Why are you here? The Grand Elder frowned upon seeing Elderly. She knew that Elderly was on Juana's side, and that he was very respectful and concerned about Mingyao. I'm on duty today, Grand Elder, Elderly said, neither servile nor overbearing. Forget it, you are what you are. The Grand Elder thought that Elderly was only helping Mingyao in the dark. Would he dare to go against his will on the surface? It was a good opportunity to disgust him. May I ask why Supreme Elder is looking for me? When Elderly saw the Grand Elder's expression, he knew it wasn't something good. He reckoned that the Grand Elder had come up with some vicious plan to punish Lin Yi. Now, send a notice to Lin Yi in the name of the Dark Palace. Tell him to return the 2 elixirs he stole from our disciples. If not, he'll bear the consequences, the Great Elder said. Ah? Elderly was stunned. He didn't expect that the Grand Supreme Elder would ask him to do this. How was he going to send out the notice? Elderly's expression was a little awkward. Grand Elder, this isn't too good, right? The Heavenly Elixir Sect will be in charge of everything in the trial. We, the Palace of Darkness, can't do anything about it. If the Heavenly Elixir Sect finds out, it'll be a huge taboo. Humph, Lin Yi is just a small freelancer, that bitch's dog. How could the Heavenly Elixir Sect help him? Plus, can Lin Yi go to the heavens? What a joke! The Grand Elder said in disdain. He'll just suffer a loss, he won't dare say it out loud. But didn't we give those 2 elixirs to the Heavenly Elixir Sect? Where's Lin Yi going to get them back? Elderly smiled bitterly. Without those 2 elixirs, of course we'll have to get his elixirs back. Are we going to let him get away with it? The Grand Elder humphed coldly. He's just a small freelancer, he only dares to bully our disciples. Why wouldn't he dare to bully the Heavenly Elixir Sect's disciples? What the hell? But with me, a Sky-class late-phase peak, he'll wet his pants. This? Elderly was in a difficult position. Wasn't this clearly making things difficult for him? Everything that happened in the trial was up to the heavens. He'd never heard of anyone seeking revenge after the trial. It was fine if there was a life-and-death feud, but to ask for the 2 elixirs back after taking them, wasn't this bullying? Are you going to do it or not? If not, I'll let someone else do it. The Grand Elder saw that Elderly was hesitating and glared angrily. This? I'll do it, I'll arrange it right now. Elderly had no choice but to bite the bullet and leave the Grand Elder's room. Then he sneaked to where Warner was cultivating. How strong was the Grand Elder? She knew all of Elderly's little tricks. She saw it too, but didn't stop him. It was better if Warner knew. This was the effect that the Grand Elder wanted. If you didn't break through to Sky Class and accept the inheritance, then your family would be bullied. Without pressure, how could you have motivation? The Dark Palace's position was in a precarious position. If the inheritor didn't appear, then the entire future plan would be ruined. That place might do something inhumane in a fit of rage, and the Grand Elder was under a lot of pressure as well. Now that there was the matter with Lin Yi, she could use this as a pretext to pressure Lin Yi a little, making Warner understand that if she didn't train, then her daughter wouldn't have a position. Elderly told Warner about the order of the highest elder. Warner's face was a bit pale. This was the mature version of the eldest Mississippi. She felt very conflicted at the moment. After an inheritor broke through, the possibility of accepting the inheritance was almost zero. Even if they broke through to Sky Class, it would be hard to understand the inheritance. Warner knew that the only way for her to reunite with Pingzhan and Mengyao was to accept the inheritance and become the inheritor. At that time, she would be the true palace master of the Dark Palace, and now, it was just a title. If she couldn't accept the inheritance, then everything would be over. So, this chi-gathering pill of the Dark Palace became the key to turning things around. If she succeeded, then everything would be fine, but if she failed, then it would be an eternal failure. The Grand Elder had no choice but to activate the Dark Phoenix Bloodline Guidance Stone to find another inheritor of the Dark Phoenix Bloodline to accept the inheritance. Chapter 29:11. I understand. Elderly, please do as the Grand Elder says. Warner sighed. This wasn't something she could decide. Her decision to run away from the wedding all those years ago seemed childish and funny, but she didn't regret it. It was her choice. Pingzhan was the love of her life. It was just that he and her daughter had suffered a lot. After all these years, he had become a very successful person in the common world, but in the ancient world, he was nothing in the eyes of the Grand Elder. Yes, Palace Master! Elderly sighed and said, if we do this, the people around Little Miss will definitely be baffled. Sigh. Warner pursed her lips and didn't say anything else. She couldn't change the reality in front of her. Luckily, she only wanted Lin Yi to hand over the medicine and elixirs. She didn't cause any more trouble for him, so she was a little relieved. Ancient House Feng Tian, who didn't expect Feng Shipian to come back alive. But he was happy that Feng Shipian brought back the Great Huan Pill. Nitian could be saved. So, even if Feng Shipian wasn't dead, Feng Tianhu was still smiling. Shipian, you've worked hard. You're indeed the first heir of the ancient House Feng, passing such a difficult test. Not bad, not bad. Feng Shipian didn't look like a schemer, but he was actually very smart. There were some things that he didn't want to think too much about, and he didn't want to fight. Looking at his uncle's smile, Feng Shipian smiled and nodded. It's all thanks to the help of a benefactor. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to pass the test. Benefactor? Feng Tianlin came out at this time. He paused after hearing Feng Shipian's words. What benefactor? Father, I recognize the boss in the test. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have passed the test so smoothly. Feng Shipian decided to tell his father about this. It was a blessing, not a curse, and if it was a curse, it couldn't be avoided. He had to say it sooner or later. What? Feng Tianlin heard Feng Shipian's words and frowned. Feng Shipian was his son, the future heir of the ancient House Feng. How could he call someone else boss? Wouldn't the ancient House Feng become someone else's lackey? Feng Shipian, what is the meaning of this? You are a member of the ancient Feng clan. How can you just casually acknowledge someone as your boss? Don't you know that by doing this, you're giving up the right to be the heir? Feng Tianhu didn't wait for Feng Tianlin to say anything else. He knew that Feng Shipian had brought back the Great Recover Pill, and that meant that Feng Nian could be saved. He also had the intention to push Feng Nian up again. Even if he couldn't, he still had a trump card. The most important thing now was to remove Feng Shipian's position as the heir. Therefore, as soon as he opened his mouth, he determined Feng Shipian's behavior. It seemed like he was blaming Feng Shipian for failing to live up to his expectations, but in reality, he was saying that Feng Shipian's behavior was no longer suitable for him to become the successor of the young patriarch. How could the successor of the young patriarch acknowledge someone else as his boss? If Feng Shipian became the young patriarch, wouldn't the ancient Feng family become someone else's lackey? Therefore, his words basically cut off Feng Shipian's path of retreat. Elder Feng was a shrewd man. How could he not know what Feng Tianhu meant? However, Feng Tianhu was right. If Feng Shipian acknowledged someone else as his boss, then he naturally wouldn't have the right to be the young patriarch anymore. "Oh poem, what you've done is indeed inappropriate." Elder Feng narrowed his eyes and said faintly, "You are the successor of the young patriarch. Your every word and action represents the ancient Feng clan. Grandpa, the situation at that time didn't allow me to do otherwise. If I didn't acknowledge that person as my boss, then I wouldn't even be able to come back safely, let alone get the Great Recover Pill." Feng Shipian sighed. He knew that this would happen when he returned home, but he had no choice. "Our ancient Feng family's reputation is the most important," Feng Tianhu said, disappointed that he had failed to meet his expectations. "Shipian, the boss you acknowledge, which sect is he from?" Feng Tianlin tried his best to change the topic. He wanted to know the identity of Feng Shipian's boss. If this boss was a direct disciple of a big sect or even the young patriarch, then it would make sense. The ancient Feng clan wasn't a top-notch existence in the ancient world, but a low-level existence. If they really acknowledged such a boss, it would still be beneficial for the ancient Feng clan. Feng Tianhu frowned. Of course, he knew what Feng Tianlin meant, but he couldn't stop Feng Shipian from saying it. "He is called Lin Yi, he's a wandering cultivator." Although Feng Shipian knew that if he said Lin Yi's identity, it would only make Feng Tianhu use it as an excuse to attack him, he didn't want to lie. Lin Yi's identity as a wandering cultivator was something that could be investigated. There was no way to hide it. "What? Wandering cultivator?" Before Feng Tianhu could speak, Feng Tianlin exclaimed in shock. "Shipian, what are you thinking? How can you acknowledge a wandering cultivator as your boss? Do you know how much of a negative impact this will have on the ancient Feng clan?" "All right, second brother, let's not talk about Shipian anymore. He's young and it's his first time going out to train. He doesn't know any better, let's not talk about him." Feng Tianhu waved his hand and pretended to be a good person. "What's done can't be undone. The only way is to announce to the public that Feng Shipian is not the first in line to be the young patriarch. That way, there won't be any problems." Feng Tianlin's face was very ugly. He was very annoyed by Feng Shipian's reckless behavior. But after all, Feng Shipian was his son, and his personality was somewhat similar to Feng Shipian's. They were both kind people. At this time, he didn't know what to say. He could only say with hatred, "Shipian, look at what you've done." "Father, I don't think I've done anything wrong. If this matter affects the ancient Feng clan's reputation, I'm willing to take all the responsibility," Feng Shipian said stubbornly. "At that time, I wanted to pass the trial and get the spiritual medicine to exchange for the recover pill for my brother. I had to do this. Moreover, it wasn't just me. Li Siba, a disciple of the Holy Fist Palace, also acknowledged Lin Yi as his boss. Then, Feng Tianhu just wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Old Master Feng. Chapter 29:12. Yes. There is also Gu Xian, a rogue cultivator from the ancient times, who also recognized Lin Yi as his boss. We also successfully completed the trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect because of the protection of boss Lin Yi. Feng Shipian nodded and said, "Tut! Old Master Feng smacked his lips in surprise and fell into deep thought. The disciples of the Holy Fist Palace also recognized Lin Yi as their boss? Old Master Feng was very clear about what kind of sect the Holy Fist Palace was. The Holy Fist Palace was a model of external cultivation among the ancient sections. It was very powerful. Although it had been a little low-key in recent years, no one could deny the transcendent status of the Holy Fist Palace. Although the disciples of the Holy Fist Palace who participated in the trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect this time might not be the direct disciples, they must be the core disciples. The core disciples of the Holy Fist Palace were certainly not fools. This Lin Yi must be extraordinary. Moreover, Old Master Feng had also heard of the name of Ge Xian. Ge Xian was also a character in the ancient times. He was well informed, but he did not join any ancient sections. Such a character could recognize others as his boss. There must be something wrong with this. Feng Shipian, no matter what, this time you have done something that will damage the reputation of the family. During this period of time, you will go to the reflection room and reflect on your mistakes. Don't participate in the other affairs of the family. Old Master Feng finally spoke, and he made the final decision. You participated in the trial this time and got the recover pill. Your merits and demerits offset each other. I will not punish you for anything else. Yes, thank you, Grandpa. Feng Shipian did not expect things to be resolved so easily. In fact, reflecting on his mistakes was similar to cultivation. Otherwise, Feng Shipian often cultivated in seclusion. This punishment was basically equivalent to no punishment for cultivators. Originally, Feng Shipian thought that he would definitely be removed from the title of the first successor of the young master. But now it seemed that Grandpa did not think so. Feng Tianhu's face changed. He did not expect that Old Master Feng would settle the matter with just one sentence, but he had no choice and did not dare to say anything more. And Tianhu, take the recover pill and give it to Heaven Defying. He is also the disciple with the most potential in our ancient Feng family. It would be great if he could recover. Old Master Feng didn't show any favoritism. He directly hinted to Feng Tianhu that if his son recovered, he would also have a chance to compete. Yes. Thank you, Father. Tianhu was overjoyed. He didn't think that this pill would really fall into Nitian's hands. One had to know that he had hoped for it before, but he wasn't sure if he would give it to Nitian. After all, to the ancient house Feng Nitian was just a vegetable, useless. According to some of the cold-blooded noble houses, people like him would be abandoned. Even if they got the great recover pill back, they would keep it in their house for emergencies. They wouldn't give it to anyone easily. The hidden Zhao family was a living example. Old Master Zhao's actions were very cold-blooded and heartless. You can all leave now, do your own things. Old Master Feng finished and turned to leave. The current atmosphere of the ancient house Feng was not good, but Old Master Feng had no choice. Feng Shipian was too weak. If the ancient house Feng was strong, then there would be no problem. No one would be able to do anything to the ancient house Feng, but now the ancient house Feng was just a weak family. If Feng Shipian didn't have any means, then the ancient house Feng would be bullied to death in the future. However, Old Master Feng couldn't think of a good solution. Feng Tianlin and Feng Shipian had similar personalities, and Feng Tianhu and Feng Nitian had similar personalities, but these two personalities were extreme, and neither was suitable to be the head of the house. However, for now, they could only take one step at a time. Old Master Feng could only hope that one of them could change. Holy Fist Palace. Li Siba's return could be said to be an accident for the Holy Fist Palace. On the way, Li Siba and a fellow disciple met Zhang Naipao. After being killed by Zhang Naipao, Li Siba went to the Heavenly Elixir sect to participate in the trial. At that time, the disciple who was responsible for collecting the body of the Holy Fist Palace persuaded Li Siba to quit, but Li Siba still went to the Heavenly Elixir sect firmly. Some people thought that he was stubborn, but others thought that he was being impulsive. He and Zhang Naipao had already become enemies. When he went to the Heavenly Elixir sect for the trial, it was hard to guarantee that Zhang Naipao would not be resentful and attack Li Siba again, leaving him in the trial. Therefore, when Li Siba returned, the people of the sect were very surprised, especially his master, the unparalleled Fist Master. The Holy Fist Palace and the everyday sect had always been enemies. The unparalleled Fist Master was currently the head of the Holy Fist Palace. Although Li Siba was not his last disciple, he was also one of the disciples he was more optimistic about. Previously, he heard that the disciple of the great elder of the Holy Fist Palace was killed, but his disciple still went to the trial. He was very worried. Although Li Siba's spirit was commendable, it was a bit impulsive to go knowing that it was extremely dangerous. "Siba, did you pass the trial?" the unparalleled Fist Master asked in surprise. "Yes, Master. I've passed the trial and successfully exchanged for a great recover pill." After saying that, Li Siba carefully took out the recover pill from his pocket and presented it to the unparalleled Fist Master. Ah! The unparalleled Fist Master was really shocked this time. He was very surprised that Li Siba could come back alive, but he actually brought back a third-grade recover pill. It was a bit unbelievable. "During the trial, did Zhang Naipeo make things difficult for you?" The unparalleled Fist Master hated Zhang Naipeo's guts, not only because he killed a core disciple of the Holy Fist Palace, but also because he was a disciple of the everyday sect. The Holy Fist Palace hated the disciples of the everyday sect the most. "Yes, but your disciple found a boss in the test, and under his protection, not only did I break Naipeo's spirit and avenge my fellow disciples, but he also helped me pass the test and get the third-level Great Recovery Pill," Li Siba said truthfully. "Oh? You recognized the boss? And broke Zhang Naipeo's spirit? What happened?" The unparalleled Fist Master was a little annoyed that Li Siba recognized the boss. The disciples of the Holy Fist Palace were all outstanding existences. How could they casually recognize a boss? However, when he heard that Zhang Naipeo's spirit was broken, he became interested. Seeing the disciples of the everyday sect in bad luck, the unparalleled Fist Master was the happiest. Chapter 29:13. This was not a secret, and everyone who participated in the trial knew about it, so Li Siba didn't need to keep it a secret. "What? This Lin Yi is just a casual practitioner. How can he be so powerful? Mo Ba and Mo Jiao are both dead? Zhang Naipeo wouldn't dare to do anything to him. And he actually defeated Zhang Naipeo?" Peerless Fist Master's eyes widened in disbelief. He was wondering who this Lin Yi was. How could he be so powerful that even the everyday sect didn't dare to do anything to him? Especially since this was not the first time Lin Yi had defeated Zhang Naipeo. In the Ice Palace trial, Zhang Naipeo had already suffered a loss, and Lin Yi was still alive and well. This was the most unbelievable thing to Peerless Fist Master. "Yes," Li Siba nodded. "In fact, I was also very curious before, but after interacting with Boss Lin Yi for a long time, I realized that the strength of a practitioner is actually not related to the level. Boss Lin Yi is an Earth-class master, but he can kill a middle-stage Heaven-class master in seconds. Lin Yi. I've never heard of him before?" The unparalleled fighter tried his best to remember this name, but realized that he didn't have this name in his memories. This person had appeared out of nowhere. Of course, the Holy Fist Palace had never paid attention to Lin Yi before, so it was normal that they had never heard of Lin Yi's name. "In fact, I also suspected his background." Li Siba smiled bitterly and said, "But I heard from his other follower that there are hidden families and ordinary families among Boss Lin Yi's followers. This shows that Boss Lin Yi should be walking on the road of the strong step by step. At least, there are only 3 followers at the ancient level, me, Feng Shipian and Gu Xian. There was no one before. You have a good analysis." Peerless Fist Master nodded and said in agreement, "So, this Lin Yi is even more extraordinary. He has no background. How can he walk on the road of the strong step by step? Why don't I believe it?" Li Siba hesitated for a moment and said, "But, it seems like that's the case, from the looks of it. Some things can't be judged on the surface. What do you think, Pugilist Wu? The unparalleled fist turned his head and looked at the great elder of the sect, the unparalleled fist. He was also a peak late-stage physical expert, but he was a bit weaker than the unparalleled fist. The unparalleled fist had already reached perfection and was only a step away from the heaven rank. Sect leader, I don't think so. This Lin Yi is either a cultivation genius that only appears once in 10,000 years, or he has an extremely powerful background that none of us know about. Otherwise, this doesn't make sense at all, Lawless Fist said after some thought. An extremely powerful background that no one knows about. Can other people find out? How could the everyday sect not know? The Matchless Fist Master frowned. The everyday sect. I don't know if they know or not, but since they're afraid of Lin Yi, they should know something, right? The unparalleled fist said after some thought. No. Logically speaking, this Lin Yi was already very strong in the Ice Palace's test. If he had a background, then Zhang Naipeo wouldn't be targeting him in the Sky Elixir Sex test, trying to kill him. The unparalleled fist said with a wave of his hand. If Lin Yi really had a powerful background, would Zhang Naipeo still dare to do that? But sect leader, even if the everyday sect doesn't know about it, it doesn't mean that Lin Yi doesn't have a powerful background. Could it be that you've forgotten about the two heavenly masters who swept through the ancient sects 10 years ago? Wasn't the invincible sect master taken away by them back then? The lawless fist shook his head again. Those two people appeared out of thin air, and then disappeared. Before that, who knew about their existence? Logically speaking, they are all the physical cultivators, and they are even beyond the extreme of our knowledge. But our Holy Fist Palace didn't know that there were two such powerful physical masters. That's true. The unparalleled Fist Master hesitated and fell into deep thought. After a while, he turned to Li Siba and said, Siba, you did a good job this time. Don't break the relationship between you and Lin Yi. Keep in touch with him, but you have to remember that you represent yourself, not our Holy Fist Palace. Before you know that person's real background, or that person hasn't shown enough strength to look down on the ancient level, you can't use the name of Holy Fist Palace to associate with him. Yes, Master, I understand. Li Siba was overjoyed. Although he had thought that the matter of him recognizing Lin Yi as his boss would not be opposed by the people in the sect, he did not expect that it would be so smooth, and that the unparalleled Fist Master would agree so much. Of course, Li Siba would not think much about the addition of the unparalleled Fist Master. After all, the Holy Fist Palace was the top existence among the ancient sections. If they recognized a rogue cultivator as their boss in the name of the sect, the impact would be too great. And the Holy Fist Palace had given Li Siba the maximum freedom to associate with Lin Yi in his own name. It's a pity that your junior brother was killed by Zhang Naipeo, but Mo Ba and Mo Jio are finished. They have been avenged. The unparalleled Fist Master sighed and said, Also, you can keep this recover pill for yourself. It's what you deserve. You don't have to hand it over to the sect. How can I do that? Li Siba was stunned and a little overwhelmed. Also, you can come to my place to practice tomorrow. From now on, you will be one of my last disciples, and you will be treated the same as the other last disciples. The unparalleled Fist Master was a man who knew how to adapt to circumstances. He also saw that Lin Yi was unusual, so he began to prepare to train Li Siba. Thank you, Master. Li Siba was surprised and happy, and quickly knelt on the ground. He never dreamed that after recognizing Lin Yi as his boss, it would bring him so many great benefits. And the unparalleled Fist Master did not oppose it. Instead, he was very supportive of the unparalleled Fist Master's decision. He smiled and said, When you have time to see Lin Yi, thank him for avenging my disciple. I can't come forward to take revenge. If it was any other time, I could only pinch my nose and accept it. But this time, I can vent my anger. Yes, Grand Elder, your disciple will convey your message, Li Siba quickly replied. Chapter 29:14. Chunyang, what happened to Pao? How come he's like this? Didn't he successfully pass the trial and obtain a marrow and bone cleansing pill for me? Isn't that a good thing? Pinliang looked at Chunyang curiously. Do you know why? I'm not sure. I'll go ask later and report to you, Master. What do you think? Chunyang shook his head. All right. Pinliang nodded. Part of the soul in his body belonged to the Mad Dragon Master, but his care for Naipeo came from the bottom of his heart. He'd always treated Naipeo as his right-hand man. Chunyang knew this as well. He knew that Naipeo had an unusual position in the sect, and so he didn't dare tarry. He went straight to Naipeo's training area. Naipeo! Chunyang walked into Naipeo's room, and Naipeo was still sitting there, dumbfounded. He didn't even notice Chunyang's arrival. Logically speaking, Naipeo was a sky class, and his senses were quite strong. Not noticing Chunyang's arrival could only mean that his mind was elsewhere. Ah! It's Master! Naipeo came back to his senses after being called. He raised his head and looked at Chunyang. Master, why are you looking for your disciple? Naipeo, did something happen in the test this time? Pyongyang looked at Naipeo and asked. Master. Naipeo hesitated, but decided to speak the truth. Yes, Master, this test was a huge blow to your disciple. Oh? What happened? You clearly passed the trial and even obtained the trial spirit medicine to exchange for the marrow and bone washing pill from Master Wild Dragon. These are all good things. Why did you suffer such a huge blow? Heavenly Venerable Pure Yang was baffled when he heard that. He did not understand what was going on. Master, don't praise your disciple. If it weren't for Lin Yi, I'd be dead by now. You can't see your disciple right now. I'm already in the 5 Evils Barrens. Naipeo smiled bitterly. What do you mean? You're saying Lin Yi saved you? Chunyang was a little surprised. Weren't Lin Yi and Naipeo enemies? How was Lin Yi able to save Naipeo? What the hell was going on? Did the two make up? That shouldn't be. That's right. But your disciple almost died because of Lin Yi as well. You could say that Lin Yi's success and Lin Yi's failure. Naipeo nodded. What do you mean now? Lin Yi defeated you and even saved you? Pure Yang Emperor found it increasingly inconceivable. Master, it's actually like this. Naipeo told him everything that had happened in the 5 Fiends Barrens to the Pure Yang Master in detail, including the part where Lin Yi killed his right-hand man. It was only now that Chunyang realized that Mo Ba was killed by Lin Yi, and Mo Jio was beaten into a vegetative state by Lin Yi. These two weren't attacked by spirit beasts in the 5 Evils Barrens. The culprit was actually Lin Yi. But Chunyang was shocked. Lin Yi was in Earth-class late phase, and he was able to kill Mo Ba and Mo Jio, 2 Sky-class mid-phase masters? And with an instant kill? That was fine, but Naipeo's Dark Demon Fist, and Lin Yi was able to come up with a Hellfire Fist? What the hell was this? How did it come out? Naipeo was the disciple of the Chrysanthemum Arts, Master Chiyu, and he couldn't even beat a random practitioner like Lin Yi? This didn't make sense, did it? But the truth was right there in front of him, and the soulless look on Naipeo's face didn't look like he was lying. The only explanation was that Lin Yi was too strong, and no one else was a match for him. Lin Yi? He's already this strong? Chunyang frowned, not relaxing for a long time. So, if our everyday sect wants to touch him, we'll need a master of my level? Not really. If it weren't for Lin Yi's mid-tier golden cicada underwear, he wouldn't have been able to hurt me so easily. Naipeo smiled bitterly. Anyway, it's a freak accident. Chunyang patted Naipeo's shoulder and stood up. These things are the demons in your heart. Your training is stuck on this, and once you break through it, you'll be able to move forward. What do you mean? Naipeo paused. Chunyang shook his head and didn't say anything else. He turned and left his room. Naipeo fell into deep thought in his room. Chunyang, on the other hand, went straight to Pingliang's place. Master Mad Dragon, I've understood Zhang Naipeo's journey in the test. This is what happened. Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang told Zhong Pinliang everything he knew. Oh? So, Pao suffered a blow in the test, and couldn't get back up. Zhong Pingliang frowned after hearing Pure Yang's words. How did Lin Yi become so powerful? That's right, Nai Peo did suffer a blow. However, this is actually a good thing. Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang said. Good thing? What do you mean? Pingliang paused, and then a look of understanding appeared on his face. The second stage of the chrysanthemum art's full mastery. Before breaking through to the third stage, one has to experience the demons in their heart. Without that, one won't be able to break through. That's right, it seems like Master has thought of it too. Chunyang nodded. Pingliang had the memories of the Mad Dragon Master, but because of the short period of time, he still couldn't fully integrate it. Sometimes there would be pauses. It seems like Lin Yi did us a big favor again. Pingliang smiled. But if Pao can't successfully walk out of the demons in his heart and pull himself together, won't he be stuck in this situation for the rest of his life? Master, there's no other way. You know that to practice the chrysanthemum arts, one has to go through this. Chunyang shrugged helplessly. If the chrysanthemum arts were so easy to practice, would our everyday sect be suppressed by the Five Elements sect? That's true. I hope Pao can successfully break through. Pingliang nodded. Hakonamata Mountains, Fiery Mountain Sect. Chapter 29:15. Old head, you have to help me think of a way. Yang Shuizhen is my most outstanding grandson, which is equivalent to your grandnephew. He died just like that, and he died so miserably. Yang Dingtian said in a sorrowful tone. Ahem. Dingtian, I understand how you feel, but life and death in a trial is determined by fate. Yang Shuizhen went to participate in the trial and didn't come back. It can only be said that he was unlucky, and we can't do anything about it. Dingtian, I'm sorry for your loss. Bazooka comforted helplessly. Old head, you don't know this, but I just got the news. Our Shuizhen wasn't killed by a spirit beast in the trial, but by Zhang Naipeo of the Everyday sect. Yang Dingtian said sadly. What? Zhang Naipeo of the Everyday sect killed him? Bazooka's face changed. If Yang Shuizhen had died a violent death, then Fire Mountain could only blame it on their bad luck. But being killed by someone else was a different story. This wasn't just a matter of hatred, it was also a matter of face for Fire Mountain. Are you sure? Yes. Old head. Yang Dingtian nodded. That grandson of mine found a relatively safe place in the Sky Elixir Sex test, and he was just about to rest in there when Zhang Naipeo, a disciple of the Everyday sect, who was also resting there, suddenly attacked him. Not only did he not allow my grandson to rest, he even tried to steal his medicine, and when my grandson didn't give it to him, he attacked and killed my grandson. Although Yang Dingtian was exaggerating, the truth wasn't far from the truth. This Zhang Naipeo is too arrogant, Bazooka said in a low voice. Does he think that our Fire Mountain is easy to bully? Old head, this isn't a problem of being easy to bully. The Everyday sect is not someone we can mess with, Yang Dingtian said with red eyes. If he could mess with them, he wouldn't need to ask the fire leader for help. He would have gone to the Everyday sect himself for revenge. Where did you get this news from? Is it accurate? Bazooka also had a bit of a headache. Indeed, the Everyday sect was the same as the Five Elements sect, a sect that came down from the immemorial level. As the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Although these two sects were no longer Tiger sects, they were still stronger than other ancient sects, right? This is the information that young Master Burning Cloud found out. It shouldn't be fake, Yang Dingtian said. Oh? Did Fire Cloud find out about it? Rocket Launcher was stunned for a moment before he said, Ask Burning Cloud to come here immediately and tell me everything in detail. Yes. Yang Dingtian responded and walked to the door. He gave a few instructions to a disciple on duty, and the disciple quickly left. Not long after, a dark-skinned young man walked into the room respectfully. His eyes were red, as if he had just been crying. Was Xiaoyan Greet's grandfather and great elder? Burning Cloud, what's going on? Rocket Launcher asked. Grandfather, Shueishan Bro was indeed killed by Zhang Naipeo from the Everyday and Everyday sect. Yang Shueishan and Hu Xiaoyan grew up together, trained together, and the sect had purposely raised Yang Shueishan to be Hu Xiaoyan's right-hand man, to take over the position of Great Elder. Hence, the two of them were very close. They weren't blood brothers, but they were closer than blood brothers. Now that the news of Yang Shueishan's death came, Hu Xiaoyan was extremely sad and hated Zhang Naipeo to the bone. This time, Hu Xiaoyan's story was more detailed, and there were some differences from what Yang Ditian said. Although Yang Shueishan was a bit arrogant, it was Zhang Naipeo who provoked him first, and Hu Xiaoyan didn't side with Yang Shueishan. He was only telling the truth. It seems like we are also to blame. Yang Shueishan was too impulsive. Rocket Launcher couldn't help but sigh after hearing this. Old Master, who hasn't been impulsive in their youth? Back then, when you and I were young, didn't we also think that we were number one in the world? Yang Ditian said sadly. That's true, Sai. But if this Zhang Naipeo was a disciple of another ancient sect, then we could still question him. But this Everyday and Everyday sect. Although Rocket Launcher didn't continue, what he meant was that they couldn't afford to mess with them. Yang Ditian was silent as well. Indeed, the Everyday and Everyday sect wasn't something they could mess with. If the two sects were to really clash, the one who would suffer in the end would be Fiery Mountain. Grandpa, Grand Elder, I have an idea. Hu Xiaoyan saw that the two were silent, and hesitated. Oh? What idea? Rocket Launcher raised his head and looked at Hu Xiaoyan. The Everyday and Everyday sect and Zhang Naipeo are domineering, but it's not like no one can stop them. Hu Xiaoyan had wanted to say this a long time ago, but saying it out would weaken Fiery Mountain's momentum. What do you mean? You mean the Five Elements sect? Rocket Launcher paused. Of course not. It's impossible for the people of the Five Elements sect to form an alliance with our Fiery Mountain sect. We're just a pawn in their plan. Although we're just using each other, their high and mighty existences, so how could they care about our matters? Hu Xiaoyan shook his head. Plus, the Everyday and Everyday sect is also an important part of that plan, then you mean? Rocket Launcher looked at Hu Xiaoyan curiously. In this trial, there was a wandering practitioner named Lin Yi. Hu Xiaoyan changed the topic and told Rocket Launcher and Yang Dingtian about Lin Yi's actions in the trial. After that, Rocket Launcher and Yang Dingtian fell into shock. After a while, Rocket Launcher said, You mean, Lin Yi killed Mo and Mo, and nothing happened? Not only did Zhang Naipeo not do anything to him, but the Everyday and Everyday sect didn't do anything to him either? That's right. Of course, that's not all. After I noticed this Lin Yi wandering practitioner, I did some research and found out some other things. Hu Xiaoyan continued. In the Ice Palace trial, Lin Yi crippled Zhang Naipeo, but the Everyday and Everyday sect didn't do anything to him, so there must be something wrong with this Lin Yi? Bazooka's face showed a pondering look. You mean, we can work with Lin Yi and ask for his help to teach the Everyday and Everyday sect a lesson? Hu Xiaoyan said. Chapter 29:16. Plus, Lin Yi didn't kill Naipeo this time, so it was obvious that he didn't want to kill Naipeo. Otherwise, why would he walk out of the Five Fiends wildlands with the crazed Naipeo, and the Naipeo who was fine after that? Because Lin Yi is the boss of my sworn brother, Hu Mingyan said. Your sworn brother? You mean Tu Ba Wang? Rocket Launcher heard Hu Mingyan's words and immediately knew who his sworn brother was, but he was surprised. Lin Yi is Tu Ba Wang's boss? What happened? Tu Ba Wang also participated in the Sky Elixir sex trial this time, but before he could enter the Five Evils wildlands, he was attacked by Naipeo and became a vegetable. As he spoke, Hu Mingyan told Rocket Launcher and Yang Dingtian about Tu Ba Wang's experience in the Sky Elixir sect. Fiery Mountain and Yellow Earth High sect were both in the west, and the two sects had a good relationship. Hu Mingyun and Tu Ba Wang were sworn brothers, and the reason why Hu Mingyun had so much information about the trial was also because of Tu Ba Wang. Although Tu Ba Wang didn't participate in the trial, he had already found out about everything that happened in the inn after the trial. Tu Ba Wang didn't say much about how strong Lin Yi was, but what he could say was enough to prove how strong Lin Yi was. From Hua Mingyun's point of view, Tu Ba Wang wouldn't lie to him, and Tu Ba Wang was a very proud person, similar to Yang Shuizhen. If Lin Yi wasn't strong, why would he call Lin Yi his boss? This way, Fiery Mountain's revenge plan would fall on Lin Yi. Young master, as you said, if Lin Yi is really so strong, then our Fiery Mountain should indeed have a good relationship with him. I know Tu Ba Wang's personality. If Lin Yi wasn't capable, he wouldn't have submitted, Yang Dingtian said. That's true. But even if we have a relationship with a local tyrant, why would we ask Lin Yi for help? Can Lin Yi help us? Rocket Launcher shook his head. According to Burning Cloud, this Lin Yi is a master. It was very difficult for a local tyrant to recognize him as his boss. In the end, because of his relationship with Ran Ran, Lin Yi reluctantly agreed. If we suddenly appear to look for him, will he even care about us? This sigh. Fuming Cloud also felt that Lin Yi was difficult to approach. If he were to look for Lin Yi rashly, Lin Yi might just ignore him. He immediately felt a little discouraged. Young head, Shuizhen is your loyal subordinate. You can't let him die in vain. When Yang Dingtian saw that Hua Hongyun was discouraged, he immediately became anxious. If Yang Shuizhen died, he wouldn't be able to take it lying down. Dingtian, don't worry. Even without Shuizhen, this Lin Yi is so powerful that even the Yellow Earth High Sex Tu Ba Wang recognized him as his boss. Our Fiery Mountain naturally won't be outdone, Rocket Launcher said. But this matter needs to be considered. We want to rope in Lin Yi, but it's not as simple as that. We have to pay attention to some methods, right? Although Fiery Mountain and Yellow Earth High Sect had a good relationship, and Fuming Cloud and Tu Ba Wang were good brothers, the more it was like this, the more the two sects would compete with each other. It was like how people usually like to compare themselves with the people around them, but not many people would compare themselves with strangers who were far away from them. Yeah, Grand Elder, regarding Yang Shuizhen's matter, I will definitely go to the Everyday sect to demand an explanation. Fuming Cloud nodded. Yang Dingtian didn't really want Zhang Naipeo to pay with his life, but mainly because he couldn't stand the arrogance of the Everyday sect. It wasn't the first time that the Everyday sect had bullied other ancient sects. Yang Dingtian didn't only have one grandchild. He had two, and with one dead, there was still one left. It was just that this one wasn't as strong as the other, so Yang Dingtian felt that Yang Shuizhen's death was a very unfortunate thing. Lin Yi sent Qikun to the door of the hidden house, but he didn't go in. Qikun's face was very conflicted. He had come back to the place he grew up in, but he didn't feel any sense of belonging at all. Boss, I really don't want to go back to this house. I don't even know how I'll face them when I go back. Qikun sighed as he got off the car unwillingly. I don't know why your grandpa is so stubborn. If I were him, I'd let you be the head of the house. There's no one more suitable than you. Lin Yi shook his head. He really couldn't understand the situation of the Zhaos. Even if Qibing had gotten a qi-gathering pill and gave it to old Zhao, allowing him to become a sky class, Qikun had also gotten a Dan back this time. Whatever, no matter what, I have to go back. Where else would I go? Qikun shook his head and walked towards the door. Qikun's return didn't cause much of a commotion. In fact, no one even bothered with him. Qikun just walked into the house and back to his room. On the way, he didn't meet anyone from the Zhaos. The servants and disciples all ignored him as well, as if he didn't exist. He shook his head with a bitter smile. He had expected this, so he wasn't angry at all. He stopped a disciple at the door and asked, Where are these people? Where's my grandpa? Young Master Tan, the head of the Zhao family, and Master Bing are both out, and the head of the house is busy as well. There's no one in the house right now, so we don't know how to deal with you when you're back, young Master Tan. Please don't make it hard for us, the disciple said worriedly. Qikun paused, realizing that there was no one in charge in the house anymore. But it wasn't the fault of the servants. He had been under house arrest all this time, and the disciples knew that. They didn't know how to treat him. If they treated him warmly, and if old Zhao didn't like it when he came back, they'd be the ones in trouble. If they locked him up like before, what if old Zhao didn't want to be locked up anymore? Then they'd be the ones in trouble, and so they might as well just ignore Qikuan. That way, nothing would go wrong. Chapter 29:17. Thank you, Master Tan. The disciple thanked him profusely and left, leaving Qikuan pacing back and forth in the room, waiting for old Zhao and the others to come back. The reason why old Zhao wasn't home was because he had an appointment with a few important people today, and he was having a secret meeting in House Yu's meeting room. Ever since Qikuan was taken away by Lin Yi, old Zhao had been restless. If Lin Yi dared to kill him, then he could only watch. With such a dangerous hidden danger, old Master Zhao definitely couldn't let him wander around in front of his eyes. When the news of Qikuan passing the test came back, old Zhao felt like it was the end of the world. Qikuan was home, and with Lin Yi behind him, what was he going to do? If Lin Yi wanted Qikuan to be the head of the house, forcing him to step down, forcing Qibing to give up, what was he going to do? And so, Elder Zhao finally couldn't hold it in any longer. He sent invitations to the hidden houses and sects that had a grudge against Lin Yi, to discuss how to get rid of Lin Yi. Old Zhao invited the Hidden House Yu, Qianshan sect, Jinzhong sect, and the Firewolves. These were all houses and sects that hated Lin Yi, but the Hidden House Yu didn't come. Old Zhao knew that the Hidden House Yu wouldn't come, but he didn't think much of it. He just thought that House Yu and House Zhao were at odds because of Qibing and Yuning, so they didn't want to participate in the secret meeting. In fact, when old Yu saw the words "fight Lin Yi" together on the invitation, he threw it away. He didn't want to inform Lin Yi, but he had no interest in participating. Unknowingly, Elder Yu had already started to adjust the Hidden House Yu's future plans, especially after Yuning's incident. Elder Yu's attitude towards Lin Yi had changed a little. Of course, old Zhao didn't know about this. In the meeting room, other than old Zhao, there was old Yu of the Hidden House Yu, Qianshan Sect's Master Wei, Jinzhong Sect's Master Jin, and Firewolves and Ningwei. The reason why the meeting was held at House Yu was because the last Hidden House meeting was held at House Zhao, so this time it was a different place. Qianshan Sect and Jinzhong Sect were both in the mountains, and it wasn't easy to get in. And in Ningwei of the Firewolves was only the person in charge of Donghai City, and she didn't have a headquarters. So, the Hidden House was the best place for the meeting. Both the Qianshan Sect and the Golden Clock Sect hated Lin Yi to the bone, and they couldn't wait to kill Lin Yi for revenge. Whether it was the Wei Sect's master or the Jin Sect's master, all of their important figures had died in Lin Yi's hands, especially the Qianshan Sect's spirit beast. The Firewolves, on the other hand, wanted to kill Lin Yi, so Ningwei came here without hesitation. As for the Hidden House Yu, they wanted Zhang Liju's notes. If Lin Yi died, then Han Jingjing would be easy to deal with. As long as Right Coiling Tiger could get Han Jingjing, everything would be solved. The problem was that if Lin Yi didn't die, Han Jingjing wouldn't accept Right Coiling Tiger. So, these people could be said to be working together. Old Zhao, you're the one who started the meeting to kill Lin Yi. Tell us, do you have a way to deal with Lin Yi? Master Wei asked impatiently. If he had the strength, he would have killed Lin Yi a long time ago. If I had a way, I wouldn't have gathered everyone here. Elder Zhao sighed with a bitter smile. The main reason I'm here is to get everyone to brainstorm and see if there's any way we can get rid of Lin Yi. As everyone knows, Lin Yi's strength is getting stronger and stronger. If we don't do it now, then we won't have another chance in the future. Back then, during the Hidden House Summit, it was a golden opportunity, but we missed it. Old Zhao, if you didn't fight with House Yu's old Yu, our plan would have succeeded. We can't blame anyone else for this. Old Yu interrupted faintly. This? Forget it, let's not talk about this. Old Yu, do you have a good idea? Old Master Zhao narrowed his eyes and looked at Old Master Yu, who interrupted. Since Old Master Yu is so anxious, you must have a well-thought-out plan. Humph, don't talk about useless things. I'm a sky class, but I'm only a refiner. In terms of fighting, I'm not even an earth class. What can I do? Old Jew humphed coldly. Okay, stop arguing. We're here to discuss important matters, not to argue. Let's talk one by one. Gate Master Jean waved his hand and stopped the two from arguing. Our Golden Bell Gate is declining day by day, and this is all thanks to Lin Yi. There's nothing else we can offer. Everyone knew that Gate Master Jean was telling the truth. Jean Woody was dead, and so were a few of the best disciples of Golden Bell Gate. Golden Bell Gate was just an empty shell, and they couldn't rely on him. If Lin Yi has a spirit beast, I can control it for a short period of time so that it won't attack us. Our Qianshan Gate has a secret technique that can make a spirit beast lose its strength in a short period of time. Gate Master was said. That's right, Gate Master was idea is very useful. Lin Yi has a spirit beast by his side, and we have to be on guard. Old Zhao nodded in agreement. Mr. N, do you have any suggestions? I think that Gate Master was suggestion reminds me. Can we poison Lin Yi? As far as I know, if we want to fight with Lin Yi head on, all of us together are no match for Lin Yi. And Mingwa said, we're just going to die if we go. If we can poison Lin Yi and win with our wits, that's the way of the king. That makes sense. Old Zhao nodded in agreement. We are indeed no match for Lin Yi, but poison. I heard that Lin Yi is also a medical expert. Our king pharmacist is no match for him. Hee hee, what's your king pharmacist? Old Yu said with some disdain. Your king pharmacist is nothing in the eyes of our Hidden Yu family. Chapter 29:18. Lin Yi can cure normal poisons, but what about special ones? After I go back, I can contact the Sky Elixir sect and use some special poisons to poison Lin Yi. No matter how good Lin Yi is, it'll be useless. Old Yu said confidently. Oh? That's great. Old Zhao heard this and didn't feel unhappy at all. He said happily. Then I'll leave this to you, Old Yu. Don't be happy too early. Old Yu waved his hand. It's not hard to get the poison, but how do you make Lin eat it? Old Zhao realized that this was indeed a difficult problem because he didn't have a chance. It was fine during the Hidden House Summit, but now, he had to invite Lin Yi for a meal? It would be weird if Lin Yi didn't have his guard up. I'll leave this to you, Old Zhao. I'll think of something about the poison, and you guys think of something else. Old Yu said. What kind of excuse do we use to invite Lin Yi for Lin Yi to come? Old Zhao started thinking about how to poison Lin Yi. Right, I say, Old Zhao, that Zhao Qikun from your house, isn't he Lin Yi's follower? If he invites Lin Yi, he should come, right? And Mingwe spoke up. This old bastard was as mean as Jiangwen, always doing immoral things. One of them was the same as the other. That's true, but Zhao Qikun is on Lin Yi's side. If I asked him to harm Lin Yi, he won't agree for sure. He might even leak the secret. Old Zhao shook his head. I say, Old Zhao, can't you be flexible? You can find an excuse and trick that Zhao Qikun into inviting Lin Yi for a meal, right? And Mingwe suggested. Oh? After Lord Zhao heard in Mingyue's words, his eyes immediately lit up, and he said, You really woke me up with a single word. This time, Zhao Qikun passed the test smoothly, and I can hint to him that my thoughts have changed. I'm interested in making him the head of the house, and have him invite Lin Yi over to discuss this in detail. What do you guys think? Good idea. This way, Zhao Qikun won't suspect anything. You've invited Lin Yi for a reason as well. Zhao Qikun won't suspect anything, and Lin Yi won't suspect anything either. When the time comes, we'll just have to figure out how to drug it. Wa clapped. Ha ha, in that case, I'll go talk to Zhao Qikun when I get back. Elder Zhao sighed in relief after deciding on the plan. Then let's end the meeting here. We'll do our own research, and when the time comes, we'll give Lin Yi a fatal blow. After everyone left, Old Man Yu went to contact the Heavenly Elixir sect. He was very enthusiastic about killing Lin Yi. If Lin Yi was dead, Han Jingjing's matter would be easy to handle. The Yu family had always had this idea. After so many years of working behind the Heavenly Elixir sect, they had long wanted to enter the ancient level. Of course, the Yu family's current strength was not enough. There were too few heaven rank experts. If House Yu's alchemy skills improved by leaps and bounds, then who could stop them from reaching the ancient level? However, it was impossible to rely on Sky Elixir sect's help. Not to mention that Sky Elixir sect wouldn't impart their alchemy skills without reservation. Even if House Yu learned these skills, they weren't willing to see House Yu grow and become an existence on equal footing with Sky Elixir sect. Therefore, if House Yu wanted to advance, they could only accumulate their own strength and think of their own ways. The alchemist's notes in Lin Yi's hands was the best opportunity. If they got it, although House Yu's strength wouldn't increase much in recent years, as time went by, House Yu would become stronger and stronger. Therefore, in order to prevent Sky Elixir sect from being afraid, Old Yu didn't directly contact Sky Silkworm transformation. Instead, he contacted Sky Elixir sect's 8th elder, Kong Mingming. Old Yu also knew that Kong Mingming and Lin Yi had a grudge. At this moment, Sky Elixir sect's trial had just ended. Kong Mingming was discussing alchemy matters in Ancestor Xuanshen's room. Master, currently, the Sky Elixir sect's futures pills are only the Qi-gathering pill that we promised to give to Lin Yi, the Qi-gathering pill that Dark Knight Palace wants in this trial, and the bone-cleansing pill that Everyday sect wants. Kong Mingming said. What's the order of refining these pills? Also, who's going to refine them? Only you can refine the bone-cleansing pill. No one else can refine it. However, we have to give Lin Yi an extreme Qi-gathering pill to pretend to be a Qi-gathering pill. This is a secret, and only the two of us know about it. Therefore, only you can refine this pill. As for the Qi-gathering pill, I can let Xian Jin or the other elders of Sky Elixir sect refine it. Ancestor Xianchen said after some thought. Then, of the 2 pills in my hands, which one should I refine first? Kong Mingming nodded and asked. The 2 pills you have and the one from Everyday sect have nothing to do with our future plans. We're just giving them face. You should refine Lin Yi's extreme Qi-gathering pill first. Cripple Lin Yi first. This kid is always loitering in front of me. I feel uneasy, Ancestor Xianchen said. Yes, Master. Kong Mingming was overjoyed. He actually wanted to deal with Lin Yi, but he didn't have the right to make a decision on such a big matter. He could only wait for Ancestor Xuanshen's instructions. Kong Mingming had just finished speaking when his phone rang. He was shocked. He took out his phone and was about to hang up when he hurriedly explained. Master, I was in a hurry and forgot to turn off my phone. Who called? Ancestor Xianchen waved his hand and asked indifferently. You answer it. This is the Hidden Yu family? Kong Mingming glanced at the caller ID and was stunned. He had the phone number of the Hidden Yu family, but he didn't know why they called. Kong Mingming wasn't particularly familiar with the Hidden Yu family. Oh? Ask him what's the matter? Ancestor Xianchen said. Okay, Master. Kong Mingming nodded and picked up the phone. Hello? I'm Kong Mingming. Elder Kong, I'm the family master of the Hidden Yu family. Elder Yu said carefully and respectfully. Kong Mingming's status was not the same as before. He naturally had to be careful. It's Elder Yu. What's the matter? Kong Mingming greeted him. Chapter 29:19. Say it, it's fine. Although Kong Mingming didn't know what Elder Yu wanted to say, in front of Elder Xianchen, Kong Ming couldn't say that it was inconvenient. Wouldn't that mean that he had something to hide from Elder Xianchen? So Kong Mingming could only say that it was fine. It's like this, Elder Kong, I heard that you have a grudge with Lin Yi? Elder Yu asked. What do you mean? What do you want to say? Kong Mingming's nerves tightened as he asked in a deep voice. Elder Kong, I just want to say that now, there is an opportunity to kill Lin Yi. Elder Yu heard that Kong Mingming seemed to be angry and quickly explained. Now, Hidden House Zhao's Elder Zhao wants to deal with Lin Yi and wants to poison him. It's like this. Elder Yu didn't hide it, and told Kong Mingming about Elder Zhao wanting to use Zhao Qikun as bait to invite Lin Yi for a meal and then poison him. Oh? Why are you telling me about this? If House Zhao wants to kill Lin Yi, then kill him. I'll be happier if he does. Kong Mingming was a little puzzled. Elder, you called him to tell him this just to make him happy? No, the current situation is that Hidden House Zhao doesn't have a poison that can poison Lin Yi, so they asked us for help. However, we don't have the confidence that we can make Lin Yi not notice the existence of the poison. After all, Elder Kong, you know that Lin Yi's attainments in medicine are also very high. Old Master, you said. So, I want to ask Elder Kong if there is any suitable poison. In this way, I can help Old Master Zhao. Elder, you only said that Hidden House Zhao wanted to kill Lin Yi with poison, but he wouldn't say that he wanted to kill Lin Yi. It seemed that he was just building a bridge for Hidden House Zhao. Oh, is that so? Alright, I got it. I'll give you an answer after I study it. Kong Mingming understood Old Master Yu's meaning, but he did not immediately agree. After all, this matter had to be discussed with Patriarch Xianxin. Okay, Elder Kong, then I will wait for the good news. Old Master Yu said quickly. After hanging up the phone, Kong Mingming did not hide anything. He told Patriarch Xianxin everything that Old Master Yu had said and asked him to make a decision. Isn't this a good thing? After hearing that, Patriarch Xianxin did not express any objections. Instead, he agreed. This way, someone can help us kill Lin Yi. We don't have to do anything. It saves us trouble. But that poison... Kong Mingming didn't know how to make any poison. As for the poison, I have to look up some information. Lin Yi is not a simple person. Ordinary poisons can't fool him. We have to get something special. Patriarch Xianxin pondered and said, Okay, Master. Then I will call Old Master Yu back and tell him that we will help? Kong Mingming asked. Sure, but this matter must be kept secret. Don't tell anyone else, Patriarch Xianxin said. Don't worry, Master. This is our enemy. It has nothing to do with others. I won't say anything. Kong Mingming nodded and promised. Kong Mingming went to call Old Master Yu, and Patriarch Xianxin went to look up information about poisons. At this time, Old Master Zhao had just returned to Hidden House Zhao. When he found out that Qikun had come back at this time, he was a little surprised. He gave Qibing, who was driving, a look. Qibing, you go to your room first. Cooperate with us for the next few days, don't let anything go wrong. He was afraid that Qibing would cause trouble without knowing the truth, so he told Qibing his plan on the road. He was going to get rid of Lin Yi with Qikuan's help. So, Qibing could pretend to be messing around these days, but he couldn't do anything else. Because the position of the young master would still be his. Don't worry, Grandpa. I know what I'm doing. Qibing nodded and went back to his room. Old Master Zhao, on the other hand, went to Qikuan's room. Dang, dang, dang! Standing in front of Qikuan's room, Old Master Zhao knocked on the door. Who is it? Come in, Qikuan said casually. The door was pushed open, but no one spoke. Qikuan paused and raised his head, only to see Old Zhao. He was even more shocked. Old Master Zhao had come to his room personally? This surprised Qikuan, and he felt a little flattered. After all, he had been hiding in House Zhao and was under house arrest. Old Master Zhao had ignored him for a long time, and he was used to it. Grandpa, why are you here? Qikuan was disappointed in Old Master Zhao, but he was still his grandpa. He still had to be respectful. Old Master Zhao didn't say anything. After entering the room, he sat on the sofa and looked at Qikuan silently. Grandpa? Qikuan was even more puzzled. What did Old Master Zhao mean by this? Why didn't he say anything when he came in? Qikuan, you passed the test? Old Master Zhao finally spoke. He looked at Qikuan, his eyes complicated. Yeah, Grandpa, I'm back. Qikuan thought. Wasn't this bullshit? But he still replied respectfully. Qikuan, was the test dangerous this time? Lin Yi. He's pretty strong, to be able to bring you through such a dangerous test? Old Master Zhao's words made Qikun even more confused. He didn't know what he was talking about. Grandpa, you came to find me. Qikun was confused. I got the pill and completed the mission, but Elder Bai. Isn't he dead? You're the one who got the pill, so naturally you can decide how to use it. Even if Elder Bai doesn't die, you're the one who calls the shots. Old Master Zhao waved his hand. I heard that Lin Yi's really strong now. Strong? Qikun paused. He's alright. Grandpa, what do you mean, Qitan? I was wrong before. Compared to Qibing, you're the young man of House Zhao. Don't be angry before. I'm impressed because he brought back a qi-gathering pill. Qibing's eyes lit up as he spoke. You're right, Qibing. Old Master Zhao said. But now you brought back a great recovery pill, and that's a third-level pill, so you two are even, so, Grandpa, you can't be saying. Qikun jumped in shock as he looked at Old Master Zhao in disbelief. Could it be that Old Master Zhao's thinking had really changed? Chapter 29:20. He continued, Oftentimes, as the head of a house, I have to think about the big picture. Before, I supported Zhao Qibing because of his contributions to the hidden house, and as the head of the house, I have to reward those who contribute to the house. I can't let them down. Otherwise, who would contribute to the house in the future? So, I supported Zhao Qibing. As for you, as Zhao Qibing's biggest competitor, I can only suppress you. But I couldn't do something like killing you myself, so I could only lock you up. Qikun nodded silently. He understood what old Zhao was saying. He was just angry before, wondering why Zhao Qibing could get the position. But after knowing Zhao Qibing's contributions, he just felt that he was unlucky. Grandpa, I understand all of that. Qikun sighed. Yes, you understand all of that. Now you brought back a third-level pill for the house, and your contributions are equal to Qibing's. I won't be biased towards Zhao Qibing anymore. You guys have the same starting point, so I'm more inclined towards you being the head of the house. Qitan, do you understand? Old Master Zhao said in a serious tone. Me? Qikun was a bit dumbfounded. Why was old Zhao saying this all of a sudden? Hidden House Han, Hidden House Pai, Hidden House Shuang, these houses. Hidden House Shuang used to be much weaker than us, and Hidden House Pai was about the same strength as us, but these two are doing better than us now. Why is that? Old Zhao paused here before continuing. I'm sure you understand, Zhao Qikun, that's because they've accepted Lin Yi as their boss, and so they've gotten a huge boost. So, Grandpa, you're saying? Qikun finally understood, and was pleasantly surprised. His grandpa finally understood what Lin Yi was capable of, and he was finally ready to join Lin Yi's side. That's right. Old Zhao nodded affirmatively. Before, Grandpa thought that Lin Yi was a freelancer and didn't have much ability. And because of what happened with Zhao Qibing, we had some grudges with Lin Yi. Because of that, I never thought about the pros and cons of this matter. But now, it seems that you're the smarter one. He gave us, the hidden Zhao family, a way out. Qikun was very happy to see his grandpa come back to his rights. He didn't know what to say. Grandpa, I just think that boss Lin Yi treats me very well, and he's very strong. He can protect me, so... Qikun said. Yes, I know. You don't have to explain, you did the right thing, old Zhao said. It's just that Grandpa had some misunderstandings with Lin Yi before, and joining him like this is a bit sudden, and also, Grandpa's face. Grandpa, our family didn't really respect Lin Yi boss in the first place. Why are you still thinking about face at a time like this? Boss Lin Yi's follower has already risen to the ancient level, and it'll be too late for us to be reserved. Qikun was panicking. Why was Grandpa still thinking about face at a time like this? Ah? All ancient sects? Old Zhao's heart skipped a beat as he probed. Even the ancient sects serve Lin Yi? Not really, just ancient-level disciples, Qikun said truthfully, not hiding anything. He didn't know that old Zhao was trying to get information out of him. Qikun didn't know that Tuoba Wang was representing the Yellow Soil high sections. After all, this involved little Gio, and Lin Yi didn't tell him in detail. He only said it vaguely, so Qi didn't know. I see. Old Zhao pretended to be surprised, but breathed a sigh of relief inwardly. It was just a few disciples, so it wasn't a big deal, but if there were ancient sects joining Lin Yi, then it'd be really troublesome. At that time, even if he killed Lin Yi and the ancient sects came for revenge, he wouldn't be able to do anything about it. But it wasn't yet. Qi, what do you think I should do now? If you really want Lin Yi boss to protect our hidden house, I think you should have a banquet and apologize to boss Lin Yi, letting bygones be bygones, Qi suggested. You're right. Old Zhao was about to laugh out loud. Zhao Qi, don't you know that the older you are, the wiser you are? I've been waiting for you to say this, for you to say it yourself. Grandpa, does that mean you agree? Qi breathed a sigh of relief. If he called Lin Yi boss and he still put on airs, then Lin Yi wouldn't be happy. Even if he called House Zhao his little brother for his sake, he wouldn't feel good about it. But if old Zhao took the initiative to hold a banquet and apologize, then everything would be fine. Yeah, I'll listen to you, right? Old Zhao waved his hand. Here, I'll think about it and call a family meeting. I'll treat Lin Yi to a meal and confirm this relationship. All right, Grandpa, I'll go tell Boss Lin Yi our decision right now, Qi said happily. Okay, go, Old Zhao said. I'll announce in a bit that you and Zhao Qibing's positions in the hidden house will be the same from now onwards. You'll both be the heir of the house. You know that I can't just take away Zhao Qibing's heir position all of a sudden. He contributed to the house, so it'll depend on your contributions. But you have Lin Yi to protect you, so it shouldn't be a problem in the future. I understand, Grandpa, Qi said quickly. If old Zhao had just said that he'd take away Zhao Qibing and make Zhao Qi the heir, then Qi would have been confused and would have been exposed. But now, the more he said it, the more Qi felt that it was reasonable. After returning home, Lin Yi didn't even have time to talk to Meng Yao and Yushu about the interesting things that happened in the Sky Elixir sex test before he was infuriated by a troublesome matter. These days, Tianli had been living like a drunkard, trying to get by as long as he could. He didn't report the company's matters to House Lu, and he didn't tell Fatty Lai and the others either. Instead, he just smoked every day. Chapter 29-21. Although the company was already in debt, Tianli still had the money to pay for the drugs. The company and House Lu's cars could be sold for $1 million or so, and selling one would normally be enough for him to smoke for a while. However, Tianli's mouth had been sucked dry by the cigarettes from before, and he didn't feel anything for normal drugs at all, so he had to buy high-purity drugs to satisfy his cravings. And that wasn't all. Tianli had been smoking a lot before, a couple packs a day, and that meant that he was inhaling a lot of drugs. So he had to replace it with simple drugs, and he needed a lot of it. Otherwise, Tianli wouldn't be satisfied. Moreover, Tianli felt that everything was over. The company was gone, and he also owed a huge debt to Lin Yi. He might as well just throw everything away, and live as freely as he could. However, this wasn't a situation where Tianli could do whatever he wanted. The business department, sales department, finance department, and purchasing department were all in an emergency. These days, the distributors were pressing for the goods furiously, because many of them had already paid for the goods, but they still couldn't get the goods. On the other hand, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was in an emergency as well. Not only that, but the profits from the drugs hadn't been transferred back to the company's account on time. Naturally, Fatty Lai called House Lu's company to ask what was going on. The bank's loans were quite large, and most of them were short-term loans. If Tianli hadn't returned the money by the deadline, the bank would naturally ask what was going on. If he still didn't return the money, they would confiscate the Lu's real estate according to the rules. All of these things were piled up on Tianli's desk, but he didn't reply to any of them. He locked himself in his office every day, smoking and not giving his subordinates a clear answer. All of a sudden, everyone in the company was panicking, not knowing what was going on. Especially the important departments. Not only did they have to deal with the distributors, but they also had to deal with Fatty Lie and the bank. They were extremely busy every day. Fatty Lie and the bank called Tianli, but he didn't pick up, pretending that he wasn't there. As a result, rumors began to spread in the company. The so-called rumors were actually half true and half false. Especially Secretary Zhang, who knew the most. Seeing that the company was going downhill, and that he could not get his salary and bonus, Secretary Zhang could only tell the company's director, deputy director, finance department, sales department, business department, and purchasing department the truth. He told them what he knew and guessed, so that they could respond as soon as possible. As for him, he was ready to resign. The company was riddled with holes. Under such circumstances, who would be stupid enough to stay here? The department manager who knew the truth would tell his close colleagues in the company, and soon, the whole company knew that Tianli was done for. And so, resignation letters flew everywhere, and everyone in the company left. Tianli wanted to hide it, but he couldn't. Because at this time, the bank had already gone to the Liu family to confiscate the real estate they had mortgaged. The Liu family's villa was one of them. When Jinhu and Liu Tianyi were informed by the bank staff that Tianli hadn't repaid the loan on time, the villa had been seized. Both of them were dumbfounded. What? You're saying that this villa and the rest of the Liu family's real estate were all mortgaged by Tianli? Liu Tianyi looked at the bank staff in shock. He didn't interfere with House Liu's business, so naturally he didn't know what Tianli was doing. Could there be a mistake? Mr. Liu, we're just following the rules. This is the mortgage application with Mr. Tianli's signature. Please take a look. If you don't believe it, you can call Mr. Tianli yourself. The bank staff smiled bitterly. House Liu was one of the common noble houses, and even if they weren't doing well right now, it wasn't something a small staff like him could mess with, so he spoke politely. Tianli, there's no problem with these documents. It seems like it really is that bastard Tianli's doing. Jinhu sighed as he looked at the mortgage application in the staff's hands. Dad, don't worry. I'll call Tianli right now and ask him what's going on. Liu Tianyi frowned as he dialed Tianli's number. Tianli met the bank staff and the company who were going to seize the skyscraper. He didn't say anything, but dismissed all the employees and walked out of the building alone, sitting quietly on the green belt in front of the building. He didn't even bother to explain, letting the bank staff seize the building. The people left in the company were all old people, most of them direct descendants of Liu Jing'an's generation. They were also the most loyal direct descendants, and none of them resigned. Instead, they stayed with Tianli until the end. But now, they didn't even have a place to work. Disappointment flashed in their eyes as they looked at the dispirited Tianli sitting in front of the green belt. Tianli was far, far worse than Liu Jinghan. Director Chen, what do we do now? Out of all these people, the one with the highest position in the company was Director Chen. His position in the company was second only to one and above tens of thousands of people. The chairman and CEO of the company was Liu Tianli, and the vice CEO was Liu Jinghan. But ever since she left, it was just a title. Only Director Chen was left. Hayes! Director Chen sighed helplessly. I'll give Miss Liu a call. Although Liu Jinghan had already left, telling these people not to bother her anymore. Her job was done, and Vice CEO was just a title forever. But Director Chen had no choice but to call Liu Jinghan now. The company was in too big of a crisis. Director Chen? Liu Jinghan had just parked her BMW when she received Director Chen's call. She was a bit surprised. Why was Director Chen calling her all of a sudden? Vice CEO Liu, it's me. Director Chen called Liu Jinghan as Vice CEO Liu because Tianli's surname was Liu as well. He could only add the word vice to Liu Jinghan's name. Otherwise, he would have left it out. What's the matter? Liu Jinghan asked curiously. Vice CEO Liu, the company is in trouble, Director Chen said urgently. Chapter 29-22. No, it's like this. Director Chen didn't know the truth either. Tianli was muddle-headed and didn't say anything. He could only guess from Secretary Zhang's words that Tianli had been scammed, and the company's money was gone. He didn't know the specifics and could only fill in the blanks with his own imagination. He then told Jinghan his guesses and deductions. When he talked about the company being seized by the bank, the usually calm Jinghan couldn't stay calm anymore. What? The company's building was seized? Just how much did my father borrow? What kind of business did he work with that Mr. Lang? Vice-CEO Lu, I'm not too sure about that. I heard it was some kind of cigarette business, but Secretary Zhang isn't too sure either. Mr. Lu didn't tell anyone else because this business was discussed by Mr. Lu himself. He didn't go through us, Director Chen said. I understand. Keep an eye on my father and don't let him do anything stupid. I'll think of something else. Jinghan took a deep breath. She didn't think that such a big mess would happen when she wasn't home. Okay, Vice-CEO Lu, Director Chen replied. Jinghan hung up and frowned as she fell into deep thought. At the same time, in Yanjing, the news of House Lu's failed investment spread like wildfire to everyone related to House Lu. House Lu had suffered a huge loss this time, losing more than 5 billion in capital and real estate. Not only did they lose all the money from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, they even lost all their money. The distributors called Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company over and over again, complaining about Lu Tianli, asking for a refund or supply of goods. But Fatty Lai only had a small portion of the medicine that hadn't left the warehouse yet. The new raw materials weren't sent over by Tianli, so Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company couldn't continue production. Plus, Fatty Lai didn't even have the money to give to the distributors even if he wanted a refund. All of a sudden, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company stopped production as well. Because of Tianli's influence, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company's reputation plummeted. The truth of Lu Tianli's drug addiction couldn't be hidden from the observant people at all. Not long after Lu Tianli went bankrupt, the news spread again. Elder Zhenhu was shaking with rage. He never would have thought that Tianli would go and do drugs. Not only that, the company had already lost money, but he didn't even think of a way out. Instead, he sold his car and continued doing drugs. Unfilial son! You unfilial son! Jinhu's body had recovered quite a bit after Lin Yi's treatment, but this time it pissed him off so much that he couldn't even get up from the wheelchair. Tianli knelt on the ground, his eyes sunken in, his expression wooden, ignoring Jinhu's roar. It wasn't that he really ignored these things, but that he was still trapped in the illusion brought about by the drug addiction, so he didn't care about anything else around him. Father, please calm down. Brother is probably addicted to drugs right now, he can't hear anything we say. I think we should send him to a drug rehabilitation center and force him to detoxify. Lu Tianli noticed that something was wrong with Tianli. He knew Tianli well. He was a conservative person, and his company was a solid one. He always listened to his father, himself, and even Lu Jinghan when it came to family matters. He didn't have many ideas himself. This time, the situation was very special. Why did Tianli suddenly change into a different person, taking drugs and losing money? He's not your brother! Taking drugs, selling drugs, isn't this bringing glory to House Lu? Miracle Dr. Lin gave the medicine company to us, House Lu, to take care of it, and we ended up like this. How am I supposed to face Miracle Dr. Lin with my old face? Jinhu was so angry that he was shaking. What Tianli had done was beyond what he could handle. Maybe he was tricked. Lu Tianli carefully tried to explain for Tianli. Tricked? He wouldn't have been tricked if he didn't have any greed in his heart. Jinhu laughed coldly. Don't think I don't know what he's thinking. He's never approved of our cooperation with Miracle Dr. Lin, thinking that we're just relying on Lin Yi. If one day Lin Yi is done for, then House Lu will be done for as well. But because of you, me, and Jing's pressure, he could only do as we're told. But if there's a chance, he'll definitely want to turn the company into a business that can still operate without Lin Yi. That? Lu Tianli couldn't help but smile bitterly. But isn't he thinking for House Lu? There's something wrong with his thinking. Now that Lin Yi is doing fine, he's done for first. Jinhu humphed. If he was half as strong as Jing Jing, the company wouldn't be like this. Yes. Tianyi didn't have much else to say at this point, he just nodded. Tianyi, give Miracle Dr. Lin a call and tell him that House Lu has wronged him. Tianli and I will die to atone for our sins. My old face really can't face Linny anymore. I don't have the face to live anymore. Jinhu sighed as he made his decision. Father! How can you die? Lu Tianyi jumped, his eyes wide. If you die, what will happen to House Lu? I'll ask Mr. Linny for mercy. We'll do anything to make it up to him. Doesn't House Lu still have you? Jinhu shook his head. Do you think you can appease Miracle Dr. Lin's anger if you don't die? 5 billion isn't a small amount, and the impact this will have on Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company isn't something that can be calculated with money. Instead of living under Miracle Dr. Lin's oppression, why don't Tianli and I die to atone for our sins? Tianyi, you still have a chance to rise again, because you're the closest to Linny. Tianyi fell silent after hearing Jinhu's words. He was right. Even if Linny were to let the Lius go for the sake of the past, he'd never trust and care for them like he did in the past. Even if Lin Yi didn't oppress House Lu, Lin Yi's followers and other noble houses wouldn't be able to guarantee that House Lu wouldn't be suppressed. When the time came, House Lu would never be able to rise again. Chapter 29-23. Father, Miracle Dr. Lin might not want you and brother to die, right? House Lu, Lu Tianyi said carefully. Don't say anything else, just ask Miracle Dr. Lin for his opinion. Just do as I say. Jinhu waved his hand and said determinedly. I've made up my mind. Yes. Father! Lu Tianyi didn't dare say anything else. He nodded and called Lin Yi. Lin Yi had just gotten the news from Fatty Lai, and although he didn't show it, his face was extremely dark. Lin Yi never would have thought that Tianli would lose his company to drugs. That wasn't all, and the main point was that Tianli also lost the money from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. What was this guy thinking? Was he trying to defy the heavens? At that moment, Lu Tianyi called. Lin Yi took a look and picked it up, but his tone wasn't as nice as before. He said coldly, Mr. Lu, if you have something to say, just say it. Miracle Dr. Lin. I believe you already know about our Tianli's situation. Lu Tianyi's forehead was covered in cold sweat. As expected, Lin Yi's attitude wasn't as nice as before, and it made his heart go cold. I know, what do you want to do? Lin Yi was already pissed off to a certain degree. There was no way to lose money like this, was there? Even Chu Pingzhan had only lost his own money, but this Lu Tianli had lost Fatty Lai's money as well, and he still owed the distributors money and goods. So, of course, Lin Yi didn't have a nice tone. Tianli's actions directly affected many of Lin Yi's plans, including the expansion of the medical company and the construction of Xiaoke's orphanage. Which one of these didn't need funds? I'm sorry, Miracle Dr. Lin. House Lu has betrayed your trust. My father said that he and Tianli will die as an apology. If you're not satisfied, I can. Lu Tianyi sighed. Forget about you and your father, it has nothing to do with you. But that Lu Tianli, I don't want to see him anymore. Lin Yi took a deep breath. He wasn't being cruel to the Lu family, but if these underling families didn't receive the corresponding punishment, then the other underling families would follow suit. In any case, if there was no punishment for their mistakes, then how could Lin Yi convince the public? So, even if Lin Yi was grateful for what House Lu had done for him, he couldn't let this go so easily. Just punishing Tianli alone was already giving House Lu a lot of face, and this was also because Lu Tianyi lent him money when he needed it. Yes. Thank you for your forgiveness, Mr. Lin. Tianyi sighed in relief. His father, Jinhu, was fine, but Tianli. No one could save him now. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll hang up first. Lin Yi was having a headache. He needed to talk to Fatty Lai about how to continue the company's business. They couldn't just stop like this. All right, Miracle Dr. Lin. Lu Tianyi hung up and turned to his father. Father, Mr. Lin only said that he doesn't want to see Tianli anymore. Tianli, don't see him if you don't want to see him, he deserved it. You know what to do now, right? Lu Junhu was a decisive man. He may have been angry, but Tianli's death still hurt him. There was nothing he could do about it. I understand. Lu Tianyi smiled bitterly and nodded. But shouldn't we inform Jing Jing about this? Jinhu's eyes sharpened as he looked at Lu Tianyi. Don't worry about Jing Jing's business, she has her own plans. Yes. Lu Tianyi nodded. Then I'll send Tianli to the detox center first. If he's going to go on his way, he should go on his way cleanly, shouldn't he? And Jinhu didn't deny it. Let's wait. Lu Tianyi sent Tianli to the detox center. He and Jinhu, on the other hand, had a place to stay, but the noble houses that were close to them were all waiting for the wind. They didn't know what Lin Yi wanted, so no one dared to help. House Qin, House Wu, and House Sun didn't have much money and couldn't help with the company, but they could still help House Lu through this difficult time. But Lin Yi didn't say anything, so who dared to interfere? After putting down the phone, Lin Yi fell into deep thought. There was no point in being angry about this. What had already happened, and he had to think of a way to fix it. Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was lacking funds, and once production resumed, House Lu's company would need to find someone to take over. All this time, House Lu had been in charge of the purchasing and sales channels of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. With House Lu's sudden collapse, Fatty Lai didn't have the contact information of the distributors and suppliers. He could find another supplier, but most of the distributors had paid a deposit. If he were to replace them all, it would cause dissatisfaction among the distributors, and he might even get sued. Fatty Lai had to be careful. What Lin Yi could solve was to borrow money from Pingzhan and the other noble houses and hidden houses, but there was too much of a gap this time. These hidden houses had a lot of money, but it wasn't realistic for them to take out such a huge amount of cash at once. Like the hidden house Han, they had quite a lot of treasures, but it was impossible to convert them into money all at once. Their family's expenses were fixed every year, and they wouldn't prepare too much. Lin Yi couldn't ask them to take out all their money for him, and they wouldn't be able to live. Moreover, even if they took out all their cash, it wouldn't be much. For the current Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, it was just a drop in the bucket. However, no matter what, it was better to resume production first. Even if the supply was a little less, it was better than directly stopping production. The sudden incident at the company had messed up Lin Yi's plans, and he was caught unprepared. Originally, Lin Yi wanted to study the refining of the jade space. After all, he had just reached the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, and Lin Yi couldn't wait to refine the jade space. There was another important thing, and that was to go to West Star Village and return to the cave. According to the introduction, when the stone door opened for the second time, after Lin Yi reached the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, he could open the third stone door, and he wouldn't have to abide by the 5-year promise. Chapter 29-24. But from the looks of it, all of this had to be pushed back. He had to solve his family's problems first. Sitting on the sofa, Lin Yi started calling Qintian's family to borrow money. He couldn't borrow too much from each family, and it was easy for a family like House Wu to borrow 100 million, but too much was a problem. Fortunately, Lin Yi had a lot of followers now, and it was enough to help Fatty Lai get through this. Meng Yao and Yushu didn't dare disturb Lin Yi, and even Yushu, who was always curious, didn't ask Lin Yi about the fun things that happened in the test. Naturally, the hidden house Zhao received the news of Miracle Dr. Guan's company being in trouble. Old Zhao laughed, thinking that the heavens were on his side. Old Zhao went straight to Qikun. These 2 days, Qikun had regained his status as the young master of the hidden house. But whenever Qibing saw him, he'd have that red eyebrow and green eyes look on his face. He'd humph coldly and leave. Qikun actually understood Qibing's behavior. Ever since he came back from the test, he'd taken away his position as the heir. Anyone else would be pissed, but Qibing thought that he still had hope. He didn't want to fight with Qikun in House Zhao, so while the two were in a cold war, they didn't have anything to do with each other. Grandpa, you're looking for me? Qikun was just about to call Lin Yi to tell him the good news when his grandpa came looking for him early in the morning. Qikun, did you call Mr. Lin Yi? Old Zhao asked directly. Not yet, Grandpa, what's wrong? Qikun was a bit confused. Why was his grandpa asking this in the morning? Oh, then you might not know yet, but Mr. Lin Yi's company is in trouble, Old Zhao said. I thought you knew, and I was just about to tell you. What? Boss's company is in trouble? What's wrong? Qikun paused. He followed Lin Yi quite late, so he didn't know much about Lin Yi's company. It's like this. Old Zhao told Qikun the news he got. Ah? Then? Boss? Doesn't that mean he's in trouble? Qikun was shocked. Then? Is there anything we can do? Chitan, Grandpa is here to discuss something with you. Since our hidden Zhao family has chosen Lin Yi to be the boss, then we, as the younger brother's family, must do our best to help Mr. Lin Yi overcome this crisis. Old Master Zhao nodded and said, So I want to tell you that although our hidden Zhao family doesn't have much money, we have been doing business for more than half a year, so we have a lot of funds in our hands. Together, we can take out 200 million. You call Mr. Lin Yi right now. We'll give this 200 million to Mr. Lin Yi. Although it's a meager amount, it's the greatest ability of the hidden Zhao family. Ah? Qikun was dumbfounded. He didn't think that his grandpa would do something like this, supporting Lin Yi with everything he had. They hadn't even held a formal banquet to make Lin Yi boss yet, and this was already the case. One could see that his grandpa had already decided on Lin Yi. Qikun was overjoyed. He'd been worried that his grandpa would accept Lin Yi as boss because he wanted Lin Yi's protection, but if he didn't do anything and just kept asking for more, then even if Lin Yi didn't say anything for his sake, he'd still feel uncomfortable. So when Qikun heard that his grandpa could take out 200 million, he was overjoyed. Grandpa, you're saying? Is that true? Qikun asked quickly. Of course it's true. You still don't trust your grandpa? Old Zhao laughed. I've already told Guanyin to gather the money. It's on this card. The password is your birthday. You can call Mr. Lin Yi anytime. Thank you, Grandpa, Qikun said, overjoyed. All right, make the call. I won't disturb you anymore. Old Zhao nodded and left with a smile. Qikun, on the other hand, quickly dialed Lin Yi's number. Before, he was still hesitating on how to bring this up to Lin Yi. Hidden House Zhao had made Lin Yi their boss, and it seemed like Lin Yi had another hidden house as his follower. But after going to the Ice Palace with Lin Yi, he could tell that Lin Yi didn't lack followers at all. So, maybe this was just a case of heat, and Lin Yi didn't want to. And so Qikun had been hesitating. But now that Lin Yi's company was in trouble, Qikun didn't hesitate anymore. Hello? Qikun? Why are you calling me? Lin Yi was a bit surprised. Wasn't Qikun locked up again after going back? He could actually call him? In Lin Yi's plan, after Qikun went back, Old Zhao and Zhao Qibing would be even more afraid of him. They might even lock him up. But it wouldn't be life-threatening, because Lin Yi could tell that Old Zhao was afraid of him. He wouldn't dare do anything to Qikun. And so, Lin Yi decided to go see Qikun after a while. If it didn't work out, he'd let him start his own house, working with Han Xiaopa and Pai Jishan. But the company's business had affected Lin Yi's plans. Qikun wouldn't be in trouble for a while anyway, so he just let him stay in House Zhao for a while. Boss, something happened to your company? Qikun asked quickly. Huh? How did you know? Lin Yi was a bit surprised. Qikun's source of information should be the worst, and even if the hidden House Zhao knew, they wouldn't tell him. And so, Lin Yi had called his lackeys to borrow money, but he didn't call Qikun or Yu Bing. Qikun had no say in House Zhao, and Yu Bing, on the other hand, was in the Ice Palace, and Lin Yi didn't have a good relationship with the hidden House Yu, so he couldn't be bothered to call. My grandpa told me, Qikun said. Boss, you need money right now, right? We, the hidden House Zhao, can take out 200 million for you. What? Lin Yi's eyes went wide as if he'd heard the most unbelievable thing in the world. He couldn't believe his ears. Qikun, what did you say? Your hidden house Zhao wants to lend me 200 million? It's not lending, Grandpa said it's for you, Qikun said. Chapter 29-25. Old Zhao wanted to give him money? How was that possible? He couldn't even lend it to him, let alone give it to him. Boss, actually, after I came back from the Sky Elixir School's test, Grandpa's attitude towards me changed. Qikun knew that Lin Yi would be shocked, so he didn't hide anything. He told Lin Yi everything that had happened since he got home. Grandpa wants us to hide House Zhao and recognize you as our boss, but because of some misunderstandings before, he doesn't feel too good about it. Coincidentally, something like this came up, and so he asked me to bring this money to you, I see. Lin Yi was a little surprised at the change in old Zhao's attitude, but it wasn't incomprehensible. Hidden House Pai and House Xuan used to be enemies with him, didn't they? Until now, didn't he still become his underling? Plus, Qikun had returned safely from the Sky Elixir School's test, bringing back a third-level elixir. He'd shown his strength as well, and it was normal for old Zhao's attitude to change. After all, Qibing and Qikun weren't just a little bit weaker. As long as old Zhao didn't go to extremes or go senile, choosing Qikun as the heir of the hidden house Zhao was a very wise choice. Yeah, boss, give me your account number. I'll transfer the money to you right now, Qikun said. Grandpa said that after this is over, he'll hold a banquet to invite you to confirm our identities. In that case, Qikun, please thank old Zhao for me. My account number is, Lin Yi said, a little emotional. Of course, he didn't expect old Zhao to be that extreme. Even now, he was still trying to kill him, and he was taking out 200 million. This old Zhao was crazy. And boss, I'll transfer the money to you right now, Qikun said. I won't disturb you then, you must have other things to do. We'll contact each other after this is over. All right. Lin Yi nodded. Qikun's 200 million was like coal in a snowstorm. Lin Yi's lackeys weren't poor, but they didn't have a lot of cash. Lin Yi's phone call barely brought them over $1 billion, and with Qikun's 200 million, it was a total of 1.2 billion. For Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, it could only barely alleviate the situation. After all, Tianli had created too many debts. There was no return on the medicine that was produced with the money invested. The money had already been taken by Tianli, and it was all gone. Lin Yi, Dad just called me, saying that he can give you 300 million in cash. We'll be able to get some more through business adjustments and bank loans, but we can't rush this, Meng Yao said as she walked over to Lin Yi. 300 million is already a lot. Lin Yi knew that Pengzhan's company had expanded to Donghai, but he didn't have as much cash on hand as a result. Before, in order to pay Meng Yao's ransom, he had to borrow money from Lu Tianyi. This 300 million was probably the money Pengzhan used to expand his company. Of course, this was also the reason why Lin Yi didn't kill House Lu right away. Lu Tianyi had helped him before, so he only took away House Lu's partnership rights and made Tianli disappear. As for the rest, House Lu was still under his protection. The miss nodded and pulled Shu upstairs. She knew that Lin Yi needed peace and quiet, so she didn't want to disturb him. Lu Tianyi sent Tianli to the rehab center and was about to go back when he received a call from Lu Jinghan. Uncle, it's Jing Jing. Lu Jinghan's voice sounded a little anxious. My dad. How is he? Jing Jing, I just sent Tianli to the rehab center. But he's not doing well. Lu Tianyi sighed, not hiding anything. Although Jinhu didn't let him look for Lu Jinghan called him first. He said, Miracle Dr. Lin's anger isn't that easy to appease. Although he won't pursue House Lu's responsibility anymore, he said that he doesn't want to see Tianli anymore. You should understand what he means, right? What? Lu Jinghan couldn't help but cry out. Uncle, you mean that my father, your grandpa, wants him to die as an apology? Tianyi smiled bitterly. That's the only way for House Lu to survive. Plus, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company's business partner won't be us anymore. Uncle, have you ever thought that there's something fishy about this? My father shouldn't be such an impulsive person. Why would he do drugs? He should be a very conservative person. This was what Lu Jinghan couldn't figure out. There are definitely things that don't make sense, but people who do drugs have a change of mind. It's hard to say if they would do something impulsive or not. Tianyi sighed before explaining. Besides, your grandpa and I have always known about this, and I'm sure you know about it as well, Jing. Li Tianli is a conservative man, but it's precisely because of that he's the one who can't accept House Lu becoming Miracle Dr. Lin's vassal. He's always wanted House Lu's business to grow without Lin Yi. House Lu's business was already very big, but it wasn't as big as House Yu's. It was only with Miracle Dr. Lin's help that we became a top business. Tianli felt that this wasn't the real House Lu, and if something happened to Lin Yi, then House Lu would be done for, but I didn't think that it would be him. Lu Jinghan went silent. She was one of the people who understood Tianli the most, and Lu Tianyi's explanation wasn't unreasonable. She said helplessly after a while, I understand, Jing. Lu Tianyi didn't know what Lu Jinghan meant, but when he wanted to ask, Lu Jinghan had already hung up. Lin Yi communicated with Fatty Lai about the situation. They had 1.5 billion in their hands now, and it could only last for a short period of time. They would use this money to pay off the suppliers, and then use the rest to buy the raw materials, make the medicine, and then sell it to the distributors. Chapter 29-26. Although he could deny it from a business point of view, Fatty Lai couldn't be an unscrupulous businessman. Plus, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company cared the most about reputation and reputation. But that was all Lin Yi could do for now. Shaking his head, Lin Yi threw these things to the back of his mind and stood up to go back to his room to research on the jade crafting. He didn't expect the doorbell to ring. Since Meng Yao and Yushu had gone upstairs, Lin Yi had to open the door himself. He didn't expect Han Jingjing to be there. Lin Yi bro, you're back! Han Jingjing was very happy to see Lin Yi. She skipped in and looked at Lin Yi from head to toe. Yeah, I'm back. How did you know? Lin Yi was surprised by Han Jingjing's information network. Your car is outside. Han Jingjing looked at Lin Yi confused. Lin Yi bro, what's wrong? Why do you look a little distracted? Lin Yi understood after hearing Han Jingjing's words. He was right, his jeep was parked in front of his house, and if Han Jingjing didn't see him, then she'd have to be blind to be unable to see him. He smiled bitterly. It's nothing, something happened at the company. I didn't have time to look for you when I got home. Yeah. I'm looking for Lin Yi bro because I have something important to tell you. Han Jingjing nodded and didn't mind. Oh? What is it? Lin Yi paused. Jing has been researching an invention recently. Actually, I've been thinking about it ever since I was able to make pills in batches. Recently, I've finally thought of something, so Jing wants to go into isolation for a while. I wanted to say goodbye to big bro Lin Yi. Han Jingjing said. Invention? Isolation? Say goodbye? Lin Yi was a little confused. He didn't understand what Han Jingjing was talking about. After a while, he reacted. You mean, you want to lock yourself in your room and research that invention you're talking about? Yes. Han Jingjing nodded and looked at Lin Yi in admiration. Big brother Lin Yi is amazing. You knew what Jingjing was going to do in such a short time. Pfft. Lin Yi was stunned and couldn't help but laugh. What's so great about that? You said that you're going into seclusion to research inventions. Of course I can think of that. By the way, Jing, what exactly are you researching? Jing is researching a method to refine pills with 100% success, Han Jingjing said. She had never hidden her new invention from Lin Yi. Oh? A method to refine elixirs with a 100% success rate? This? Jing, aren't you already able to successfully refine pills with a 100% success rate? Why do you still want to study it? Lin Yi was slightly stunned and looked at Han Jingjing in confusion. That's because only Jing Jing can refine 100% successfully. Jing Jing means that other alchemists can also refine 100% successfully. Han Jingjing explained. Other alchemists can also refine 100% successfully? Lin Yi sucked in a breath of cold air. If Han Jingjing's invention really succeeded, then it would cause a huge commotion in the cultivation world. Yes, yes! Han Jingjing nodded. Jing's research has already made some progress. All that's left is the final implementation. That's quite an interesting invention. Lin Yi nodded thoughtfully. If Han Jingjing could really come up with it, then Lin Yi could totally find some followers with suitable constitutions to refine pills and batches. Then, he would become a great alchemist sect that was no weaker than the Sky Elixir sect. It's alright, but we'll have to wait for Jing Jing to finish her research first. Han Jingjing changed the topic. By the way, Lin Yi bro, what happened to your company? It's actually nothing much. It's just that House Lu's Lu Tianli used all the company's money to do some drug trafficking and got scammed. Oh right, you probably don't know anyone from House Lu, Lin Yi said casually. I see. Then Lin Yi bro, how do you plan to punish House Lu? Han Jingjing seemed to be very interested as she continued to ask. Lin Yi was a little confused as to why Han Jingjing would be interested in these things, but he still said, seeing that House Lu has been loyal these days, I'll cancel their partnership with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company and make Lu Tianli disappear. As for the others, I'll leave them be, I see. Han Jingjing nodded but suddenly asked, Lin Yi bro, then can you let House Lu go this time? Lin Yi was taken aback by Han Jingjing's sudden question. He was confused. Let House Lu go? Why? Because Jing Jing knows the Lius, and I need the Lius to help me buy some things for this pill I'm working on. So, Lin Yi bro, can you promise Jing Jing that you'll let the Lius go? Han Jingjing blinked her big watery eyes as she looked at Lin Yi longingly. Lin Yi frowned. Han Jingjing's reason was very far-fetched and ridiculous. She needed House Lu's help for her invention? However, Lin Yi still asked. No need for House Lu, I can help you buy what you need from other people. Lin Yi bro, just promise Jing Jing, I'm begging you. Han Jingjing insisted. If someone else was begging him, Lin Yi definitely wouldn't agree to such a ridiculous request. But to Han Jingjing, Lin Yi couldn't reject her. It wasn't just because she could concoct pills for him, but also because she almost lost her life to help him keep his secret. Alright, I won't cancel the collaboration between House Lu and Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. I heard that Lu Tianli has a genius daughter called Lu Jinghan. She should be able to take over her father's business. Lin Yi sighed and agreed to Han Jingjing's request. Although he didn't agree completely, it was still a huge concession from Lin Yi. Han Jingjing didn't seem very happy after hearing that. Instead, a hint of sadness flashed in her eyes. She asked, Then, what about Lu Tianli? Everyone has to be responsible for their own doings. If they did something wrong, then they did wrong. If they didn't do anything wrong, then what would other people think? Lin Yi paused. Jing Jing, why are you begging for House Lu? Chapter 29-27. Lin Yi was a little surprised. He didn't expect Han Jingjing to be so persistent about this matter. He understood Han Jingjing's character. If she wasn't forced, it was impossible for her to bring up the matter of being persecuted by Little 11. At that time, Han Jingjing didn't even think of using this matter to exchange for any conditions with Lin Yi. What was the use of conditions when she was dead? At that time, Han Jingjing really wanted to die. But now, Han Jingjing brought up this matter again. Apart from being surprised, Lin Yi was even more puzzled. Because this was not in line with Han Jingjing's character. Suddenly, Lin Yi seemed to have thought of something and understood something. His eyes moved to Han Jingjing's face, but Lin Yi shook his head again, feeling that his guess was a little ridiculous. However, no matter how puzzled Lin Yi was, he still nodded and said, Okay, Jingjing, I promise you. However, don't say that you only need to ask me for one thing. You have done for me, no matter how many things you asked me for, it is reasonable. And thank you, big brother Lin. Han Jingjing seemed to be very happy at this moment, as though she was relieved of a heavy burden. Jingjing knows that big brother Lin treats Jingjing the best. He. Lin smiled and wanted to ask Han Jingjing again, but judging from Han Jingjing's appearance, she probably wouldn't answer much. The previous reason was already very clumsy, but Han Jingjing didn't want to say more, so Lin couldn't do anything about it. Moreover, Lin didn't want to ask more about these things. Han Jingjing must have her reasons for protecting the Lu family. For a girl like Han Jingjing, Lin would try his best to satisfy her. Big brother Lin, then Jingjing will go into seclusion. If there is anything, you can let my brother, Little Chow, inform me. I may come out of seclusion from time to time to look for food, but if I don't come out, don't disturb me, said Han Jingjing. Okay, are you next door? Although Lin felt a little strange, he still agreed. And, just next door. Han Jingjing nodded and said, If big brother Lin has something urgent, just call me. All right. Lin agreed. He felt that Han Jingjing was strange today, but Lin couldn't tell what was strange. Then Jingjing will be leaving. After saying that, Han Jingjing prepared to leave. However, when she reached the door, she turned around and said, Big brother Lin, you haven't forgotten what you promised Jingjing, right? Oh? What's the matter? Lin was stunned for a moment, but then he reacted and said, You mean the Lu family? Don't worry, I'll call Lu Tianyi right now. And then Jingjing will be leaving. Han Jingjing smiled happily, turned around, and left Lin Yi's villa, walking towards her own villa. Lin Yi shook his head, but he still dialed Lu Tianyi's number immediately. Miracle Dr. Lin! Lu Tianyi picked up the phone in fear and trepidation. He didn't expect Lin Yi to call again so soon. Mr. Lu, about your brother, let's forget about it. Let him stay in the drug rehabilitation center for a while, said Lin Yi. Ah? Lu Tianyi was stunned. He didn't understand what Lin Yi meant. Was he being sarcastic, or was he testing him? However, Lu Tianyi didn't dare to neglect it. He still said seriously, Miracle Dr. Lin, don't worry. We will do what we say. I won't let you see Tianli again. Didn't you understand what I said? Lin Yi frowned and snorted coldly. I'll let him live. This was Han Jingjing's request, and Lin Yi did as she said. However, this wasn't because of House Lu, but because of the girl who was willing to die to keep his secret. So, Lin Yi was still angry at Tianli. Naturally, Lin Yi didn't have a good tone after hearing Lu Tianyi's question. Miracle Dr. Lin, you mean that Tianli doesn't have to die? Lu Tianyi was surprised and happy after hearing Lin Yi's words. Thank you for your concern, Miracle Dr. Lin. Also, your House Lu can continue to work with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. But Tianli is obviously not suitable for this job. Don't you have a genius girl called Lu Jinghan? Ask her to give me a call when she's free. She'll be in charge of House Lu's business from now on, Lin Yi said. Ah, okay. Happiness came too quickly, and Lu Tianyi couldn't accept it at all. But the next moment, Lu Tianyi thought of something. Lin Yi let House Lu go and appointed Lu Jinghan as the successor of House Lu. Lu Tianyi could roughly guess what this meant. He quickly said, Don't worry, Miracle Dr. Lin. I'll report this to my father immediately and let Jingjing take over the family business. Lu Tianyi's meaning was clear. He was even prepared to give up his position as the head of the house and let Lu Jinghan take over the family business and business. Jingjing? Lin Yi was very sensitive to this name. He paused when Lu Tianyi mentioned it. Lu Jinghan, Jingjing is her nickname, Lu Tianyi explained. Oh. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. Jingjing? Lu Jinghan? Could it be? But Lin Yi shook his head and denied his guess. This was a little too unreliable. Miracle Dr. Lin, do you know our Jingjing? Lu Tianyi asked tentatively. Of course I don't know your Jingjing. Mr. Lu, there's one last thing I hope you understand. I let House Lu go so easily, not because of House Lu, but because the mistakes you've made have reached a level where I have to punish you. However, A very important friend of mine pleaded on your behalf, so I'll let you go this time. I hope you know what you're doing and don't do anything that will disappoint me again. Linny warned faintly at the end. Don't worry, Miracle Dr. Lin. No matter what, please be merciful. House Lu will do anything for Mr. Lin in the future. Lu Tianyi quickly promised, but he was suddenly confused. A very important friend of Linny pleaded on behalf of House Lu? So it wasn't Lu Jinghan? Then who was it? Linny hung up. Lu Tianyi was still immersed in excitement and confusion, but he couldn't figure it out. He could only report the matter to Elder Lu Jinhu. Father, it's Tianyi. Miracle Dr. Lin called again. Lu Tianyi said excitedly after the call connected. Chapter 29-28. Miracle Dr. Lin said that he let Tianli go, and not only that, he let us continue to be in charge of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company's business. But he named our Jingjing to be in charge of this. Lu Tianyi said. Let Jingjing be in charge? All right, I got it. Jinhu nodded and didn't say anything else. Lu Tianyi, on the other hand, was taken aback. Since when did his father become so mysterious? Lin Yi's decision shocked everyone around Lin Yi, including Fatty Lai. Not only did he not punish House Lu, he even let House Lu continue to be in charge of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company's business? How much trust did he have in House Lu? However, this was Lin Yi's decision, and even if Fatty Lai had doubts, he didn't dare question it. And so, out of the 1.5 billion that was given to Fatty Lai, 100 million was transferred to House Lu's account, to help House Lu's company make a comeback. Although 100 million was a little too small compared to 1.5 billion, House Lu's morale was greatly boosted by the return of the genius girl, Lu Jinghan. Especially the old employees who had followed Lu Jinghan to build the company. They were willing to follow Lu Jinghan to build the company again, even if they didn't have any salary or bonuses. Back then, Lu Jinghan relied on her own strength to build the company, and they trusted Lu Jinghan very much, and it was the same now. These things were finally over, and Lin Yi could finally take a breather. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had finally returned to his school life, living the life of a first-line student in school, at the cafeteria, and at home. You're back! Wang Xinyan saw Lin Yi appear in the classroom, and she was a little surprised, but she kept a faint smile on her face. Yeah, I'm back. How's your body recently? Are you okay? Lin Yi asked. No, ever since I took that elixir, there haven't been any problems. Wang Xinyan shook her head. That's good. Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief, but he was still worried. Xinyan's condition was only temporary, and he didn't know how long it would last. The jade on her had lost its effect, and Lin Yi had to find a replacement before the effect wore off. Xinyan's body was a ticking time bomb that could take her life at any moment. Lin Yi sat in the familiar seat. He subconsciously turned around and found that Han Jingjing was no longer there. In the past, every day before class, Lin Yi would subconsciously look at what Han Jingjing was doing, but now... I wonder what exactly is the 100% success rate invention that Han Jingjing is researching in seclusion. Has Kong Xiaolong been bothering you lately? Lin Yi asked after sitting down. Not really, but he called me once to ask about my health. Xinyan said. Then what did you say? Lin Yi asked. I told him the truth. After you helped me get the elixir, there hasn't been anything wrong with my body. Xinyan said. That's all? Lin Yi found it strange that Xiaolong was talking about such pointless things. Also, he asked me where I'm staying these days. Xinyan blushed. Xiaolong's question was a little annoying, but she was still his fiancée. She couldn't do anything about it. Haha, I knew it. Xiaolong wouldn't be that bored. So this is what he's after. Lin Yi understood. Looks like he still hasn't given up. But thinking about it, with his current position, he wouldn't give up. He had a brother who was an elder of the Sky Elixir sect. That was a very prestigious position. Not to mention liking Xinyan, even if he didn't like her, he wouldn't easily give in to a random practitioner like Lin Yi. As they chatted, Boss Bai walked into the classroom. Seeing that Lin Yi had returned safely, he let out a sigh of relief. What he was most afraid of was that the Xianqian ancestor would do something to Lin Yi through the Sky Elixir sex trial, making Lin Yi unable to return. But now it seemed that the Xianqian ancestor still followed the rules. In fact, it wasn't that the Xianqian ancestor didn't want to, but that he didn't want Boss Bai to have a problem with him and affect the Wood Inheritor's plan. One had to know that the Wood Inheritor was the most difficult of all inheritors to inherit. The Xianqian ancestor had to be very careful. He wanted to kill Lin Yi, but he had to find a way to do it without anyone noticing. He couldn't even let Boss Bai suspect him. He had to make it look like something had gone wrong. The hidden Zhao family wanted to poison Lin Yi, which was a good opportunity for the Xianqian ancestor. If something happened to Lin Yi, he could completely blame it on the hidden Zhao family. Boss Bai wouldn't be able to contact him at all. Therefore, the Xianqian ancestor had been fighting all night in the Sutra Pavilion these days, looking for some ancient poison recipes. Lin Yi's ability couldn't be underestimated. If Lin Yi discovered the poison, it would lose its effect. However, hard work paid off. The Xianqian ancestor worked hard for 3 days and 3 nights, and he really found a suitable ancient poison recipe. Rather than saying it was a poison recipe, it was better to say that it was a different kind of prescription. This prescription, after taking it, wouldn't kill people, but it would seal the strength of cultivators below the heaven stage. In other words, the poisoned person couldn't circulate the mantra and couldn't mobilize the true qi in their body. At this time, they would be completely the same as ordinary people. The most important thing was that there was no antidote for this poison. Even the inventor who concocted this poison back then didn't have an antidote. Wahahaha! Seeing this poison recipe, the Xianqian ancestor laughed heartily. Lin Yi, you little B*****, I finally found a way to kill you! Boss Bai, you didn't even dream of it, right? You become a useless person, and your disciple will also become a useless person. I, Xianqian, am really an expert in creating useless people. Wahahaha! After getting the poison recipe, the Xianqian ancestor left the Sutra Pavilion immediately and called his proud disciple, Kong Mingming. Disciple Zhao Ming pays respect to master. As soon as Kong Mingming entered the door, he bowed to the Xianqian ancestor. Master, why are you looking for me? And, I found that poison recipe. The Xianqian ancestor said and handed a copy of the poison recipe to Kong Mingming. Chapter 29:29. But I hope that Boss Bai hasn't seen this poison recipe before. Otherwise he will definitely be suspicious, but it's not a big problem. This poison recipe is not unique to our 5 Elements sect, and the one who poisoned it is the hidden Zhao family. Boss Bai shouldn't be suspicious so easily, said Ancestor Xianqian. This poison recipe is too good. Any of the herbs in it are not poison, and they are not harmful to the human body. However, when mixed together, it will cause great harm to cultivators below the heaven stage. No matter how powerful and vigilant Lin Yi is, it's all in vain. He can't recognize this poison at all. After reading the poison recipe, Kong Mingming praised. And you can give this poison recipe to the hidden Yu family, but don't mention my name, said Ancestor Xianqian lightly. Don't worry, Master. If Boss Bai really suspects it, just push the blame to me. Anyway, everyone knows the hatred between me and Lin Yi. Even if Boss Bai knows that I did it, he can't do anything to me, and he won't suspect much. After all, this kind of poison recipe is completely within the scope of my elder's responsibility. I can do it without anyone knowing, said Kong Mingming as he patted his chest. And you can go. Ancestor Xianqian nodded with satisfaction. Kong Mingming didn't delay. After leaving Ancestor Xuanqian's room, he directly called the hidden Yu family. Elder Kong, is there any progress on the poison? Elder Yu saw that the call was from Kong Mingming, so he picked up the phone and asked respectfully. And for this poison, I spent a lot of effort. You also know that my position in the Heavenly Elixir sect is very sensitive. I definitely can't tell this to the young sect master. Even if the young sect master knows, he won't agree with me doing this. Kang Mingming directly took all the responsibility on himself. Don't worry, Elder Kang. I know. Then, did you get the poison? Elder Yu asked carefully. I got it. This is a kind of ancient poison. The effect is like this. Kang Mingming explained the effect of the poison to Elder Yu. Wonderful! Old Master Yu listened to Kang Mingming's introduction of the poison prescription and was overjoyed. This is good stuff. If Lin Yi loses his strength, then anyone can kill Lin Yi. That's right, but you have to keep your mouth shut. Don't betray me, Kang Mingming said. Elder Kang, I know what I'm doing, Old Master Yu said quickly. And Kang Mingming nodded and told Old Man Yu about the poison prescription. Old Master Yu quickly and carefully recorded the contents of the poison prescription. Then, he quickly dialed Old Master Zhao's phone number. After Boss Bai saw Lin Yi, he didn't show any special expression. He just nodded to him and began to lecture. Students, the final exam is coming soon. Although the final exam is set by our class, and there is only one subject, the difficulty is still very high. I don't want to see my students participate in the make-up exam. So, from now on, please listen to every word I say carefully. Boss Bai's words made all the students in the class pay attention. Only Lin Yi still had a very relaxed expression because Lin Yi could already be exempted from the exam. At this moment, he was listening to the class purely out of interest. However, after that, Lin Yi felt a little bored. Because from today on, Boss Bai's class was a detailed review of what he had learned in this semester. There were no more examples of drawing inferences about other cases. There were only some key points of knowledge. These things Lin Yi had already mastered, so it was a little boring to listen to. Finally, the class was over. Lin Yi said something to Wang Xinyan and then said goodbye to Boss Bai. He was ready to go home to study the refining of the jade space. However, just as he left the school gate, Lin Yi received a call from a strange number from Yan Jing. Hello, how are you? Lin Yi picked up the phone and vaguely guessed who the owner of the phone was. Hello, is this Mr. Lin Yi? I'm Lu Jinghan. A pleasant female voice came from the other side of the phone. The voice was clean and comfortable, but Lin Yi was a little disappointed at this moment. This Lu Jinghan was probably not someone he was familiar with. Oh, it's Miss Lu. Do you know what I told your house, Lu? Lin Yi asked. Yes, Uncle has told Jinghan. Thank you, Mr. Lin, for sparing my father's life, Jinghan said. Jinghan will do her best to turn the situation around. Yes, I've heard about it. What kind of genius girl are you? I hope you won't let me down. Lin Yi didn't have a good or bad impression of Jinghan, so he spoke in a neutral tone. Jinghan will not betray Mr. Lin's trust. Jinghan was very calm, not too agitated. She looked like a calm and intelligent person. Oh right, there's something fishy about your father Lu Tianli. After you take over the company, when the company is on the right track, look into it. Although Lu Tianli is in the wrong, I won't let go of the person who lied to him. Lin Yi reminded Jinghan. Of course, Lin Yi didn't have much hope in this. After all, Lu Tianli said that the company was registered in Bermuda. There were no clues at all. What Wolf's mother? It was definitely a fake name. Moreover, using a fake name like this was obviously a blatant mockery and disdain. This meant that the person was lying with an ulterior motive. People like this wouldn't leave any clues for others to find. The only useful thing was to wait for Lu Tianli to wake up and ask him if there were any other clues. Jinghan knows. Even if Mr. Lin didn't say anything, Jinghan would still investigate this. Jinghan replied, I won't say anything else. You house Lu take care. Lin Yi said faintly and hung up. Back at home, Lin Yi could finally calm down and study the refining of the jade space. Lin Yi had always been looking forward to refining the space in the jade pendant. The two prerequisites for refining the jade space had already been met by Lin Yi. Although Lin Yi didn't have many materials on hand, it was enough to complete the first step of refining. Lin Yi was now at the perfect second stage of the art of dragon mastery. He could form the fire of forging. Chapter 29:30. However, there were too few cultivators who had all three true attributes. This was also the reason why blacksmiths were extinct. No wonder one of the prerequisites for condensing the space in the jade pendant was the completion of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. It turned out that one could only become a blacksmith after attaining the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. However, the concept of blacksmiths was not mentioned in the method of condensing the jade pendant. The next step was for Lin Yi to begin condensing the forging fire. The forging fire was not like alchemy fire, which could be condensed into alchemy fire of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth attributes. There was only one type of forging fire, but it was not easy to successfully condense it. In the method of condensing the forging fire, there was a mantra for condensing the forging fire. Lin Yi followed the mantra and was ready to condense the forging fire for the first time. Originally, Lin Yi thought that he had met all the prerequisites, and that condensing the forging fire would be a matter of minutes. However, when he actually condensed it, he realized that he had thought too simply. The forging fire was not so easy to condense. Although the forging fire did not have as many attributes as alchemy fire, Lin Yi discovered through the mantra that the forging fire was clearly a combination of the three attributes of metal, fire, and wood, forming a flame. That was why it was called the forging fire. The process of condensing the forging fire was actually very similar to alchemy fire, but it was a little difficult to combine the three attributes of flames. The process of condensing the forging fire was actually very simple and could be said to be extremely easy. This was because the mantra for condensing the forging fire was actually a branch of the art of dragon mastery. It was the process of transforming the all-purpose true qi in one's body into the forging fire of the metal attribute, the forging fire of the fire attribute, and the forging fire of the wood attribute. This process was much easier than condensing alchemy fire. The only difficulty was that to become a qualified blacksmith, one had to be able to condense the forging fire of the three attributes in one's hands at the same time. Furthermore, in order to forge weapons, one must be able to freely control the intensity and temperature of the fire of each element in the forging fire. This was because during the forging process, there were times when the forging fire was required to have more metal attribute. Sometimes there were times when the forging fire was required to have more fire attribute, or wood attribute. This was not constant, but could be changed at any time according to the needs of the forging. Now, not to mention that Lin Yi could change the intensity and temperature of one attribute at will, it was a very difficult task to condense the forging fire of the three attributes at the same time. Lin Yi experimented for a long time, and only managed to condense a single elemental fire. It wasn't hard for him at all, he just needed to use the chant, and he'd be able to complete the conversion. But it wasn't that easy to condense three elemental fires. After trying for a long time, Lin Yi was so tired that he was sweating profusely. In the end, he could only condense the forging fire of two attributes. As long as he added a third attribute, Lin Yi would feel a little powerless, or in other words, he could not do three things at the same time. One of the forging fire would definitely be extinguished. As for changing the fire's intensity and temperature, he could do it easily if it was just a single elemental, since he was just using the art of dragon mastery to change it. But if it was a combination of two elements, he wouldn't be able to do it. If Lin Yi tried to change the intensity and temperature of one attribute, the other attribute would definitely be extinguished because of Lin Yi's distraction, let alone three attributes. This situation made Lin Yi, who had been tossing and turning for a day, extremely distressed, but there was nothing he could do. He knew that Rome wasn't built in a day, and everything had to be done in an orderly fashion. But he'd been training his martial arts so fast that he had the confidence that he could do anything he wanted. Now that his confidence had been shattered, he felt a little depressed. However, fortunately, when Lin Yi thought about his rubbish attainments in alchemy, this little setback was nothing. Jiao Lao, being a blacksmith, is too difficult. Forging fire of three attributes, and you can also change the intensity and temperature of each attribute at will. This is a little crazy. Lin Yi was tired for a long time. Condensing the forging fire also consumed a lot of physical strength and qi. So after Lin Yi exhausted his physical strength and chi, he returned to the space of the jade pendant to prepare to replenish the loss in his body. When he saw Jiao Yazi, he could not help but complain. Difficult? You call this difficult? Do you really not know how difficult it is to be a blacksmith? Jiao Yazi sneered and looked at Lin Yi with disdain. He said sarcastically, Such a small difficulty is already difficult. Real blacksmiths don't deserve to live. What do you mean? Lin Yi was a little depressed about Jiao Yazi's attitude. This old guy has always been like this. If I don't ask, he won't answer. If I ask, he will either have an incomplete memory, or he will ridicule me. Really amazing. I haven't recovered my memory yet, Jiao Yazi said. Can you not play with me? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. But don't you have the refining method of the essence necklace? There should be a blacksmith's mantra on it. Take a look and you will know, Jiao Yazi said. Although Lin Yi was angry at Jiao Yazi's attitude, he also knew that the current Jiao Yazi was just an illusion. It was completely unnecessary to argue with him, so Lin Yi could only give up. However, Lin Yi was still very curious about what Jiao Yazi said. So he opened the drawer and took out the refining method of the essence necklace that he got from the Taganlong family's scripture pavilion. He flipped through it. At the front, it was similar to the refining method of the jade pendant. There were some preparation materials and a description of the blacksmith's level. Wait, blacksmiths also have levels? Lin Yi looked at the description of the refining method of the essence necklace in shock. His eyes widened. There was no introduction in the refining method of the jade pendant. Either the art of dragon mastery differentiated blacksmiths differently from normal blacksmiths, or the refining of the space in the jade pendant could only be completed by the lowest level blacksmiths. Therefore, there was no explanation in the refining method of the jade pendant. After all, this refining method was only for cultivators of the art of dragon mastery, not blacksmiths. This was because blacksmiths could not possibly have the jade pendant that Lin Yi had. Chapter 29:31. As for the essence necklace, only a Huang-level blacksmith could condense and forge it. In the appendix behind the condensing method of the essence necklace, there was the mantra of a Huang-level blacksmith. Lin Yi looked at it curiously, but after a few glances, Lin Yi's expression became a little weird and helpless. At this moment, Lin Yi only wanted to say 4 words. It was really F***ing difficult. This mantra of a blacksmith could be said to be extremely complicated. It was even more complicated than the most complicated mantra of alchemy that Lin Yi had seen. Not only was it extremely long, but the way it worked in the body was also incomparably strange. Not only that, there were also 3 different ways to control the fire's intensity and temperature of the 3 different attributes of the forging fire. Or rather, there were 6 different ways to control the fire's intensity and temperature. The corner of Lin Yi's mouth twitched twice. He could imagine that a blacksmith was forging a weapon, and he was chanting all kinds of mantra incessantly like chanting an incantation. If there was a slight mistake, all the previous efforts would be wasted. Lin Yi had the art of dragon mastery at least. Although it was also multitasking, changing the fire intensity and temperature completely depended on Lin Yi's will. There was no need to circulate these complicated mantras at all. As long as Lin Yi's will changed, the forging fire would also change. In comparison, Lin Yi's art of dragon mastery was really easy. If blacksmiths knew that there was such an easy way, they would definitely be envious to death. Seeing this, Lin Yi was really very lucky. He didn't know how lucky he was. Jiao Lao, you're really right. Mine is considered easy, Lin Yi said with a bitter smile. This time, he didn't have any temper at all. Hee, is that so? Brat Lin, you're too impatient. You want to become a blacksmith in just a day and a half? You're looking down on the profession of blacksmith too much. Many famous blacksmiths in history only started to study and explore the art of blacksmithing after their lifespans were extended indefinitely, Jiao Yazi said. All right, I was too impatient. Lin Yi nodded. In the past, cultivating martial skills had always been smooth sailing. This time, Lin Yi was a little surprised. But after thinking it through, he naturally calmed down and restored his physical strength in true qi. Preparing to continue practicing the condensation of the forging fire, Yushu received a text when she was in class. Her face changed slightly, but she recovered quickly. All of this happened in a split second, and Meng Yao didn't notice anything amiss. Yao Yao, I need to go to the washroom. Yushu looked at Meng Yao with a worried face. They're still in class? Are you sure you want to go now? Meng Yao was listening to the class and couldn't help but pause when she heard Yushu's words. Yes, you can't hold it anymore. I'm about to pee my pants, Yushu said with a pale face. All right, you go then. I won't be coming with you. Meng Yao stood up and asked Yushu to leave. Yushu stood up and quickly ran out of the class. The lecturer only glanced at her, but didn't ask anything. University classes were long, and each class was 2 hours long. It was normal for students to go to the washroom in the middle. If a girl was on her period, she would go to the washroom more often. The lecturer didn't bother to ask too much. However, when Yushu left the class, she didn't go to the washroom. Instead, she went to the balcony at the end of the corridor, took out her phone, and quickly dialed a number. The call connected quickly, and a voice that Yushu hated to the bone but didn't dare show came from the other side. It was the voice of the hidden house Yui. Yushu, you're really quick this time. Yui was a little surprised at Yushu's speed. What's the matter? Yushu asked. If you want me to deal with Lin Yi, then forget it. I can't kill him. Deal with Lin Yi, forget it for now. The head of the house has said that this is not something you can participate in. You don't have to worry about it anymore, Yui said. Yushu was surprised and happy after hearing this, and finally let out a sigh of relief. However, she also understood that this should be the result that Lin Yi fought for. Lin Yi was now strong enough to kill Sky Class Masters. It was a wise move for the hidden house to give up on dealing with Lin Yi. But on the surface, Yushu was very indifferent. Oh, I understand. Is there anything else? Yes. Yui sighed and said, It's the thing I told you a long time ago. Now it's on the agenda. You should be prepared. Is it to marry that young prodigy, and then accept the inheritance? Yushu's heart trembled as she asked. Yes, that marriage and inheritance plan is about to begin. Your mission is also the same, Yui said. Then, will you follow the previous agreement and let my parents go and let me meet them? Yushu hesitated and asked. Of course it's not a problem to let them go, but to meet them, at least after you have successfully accepted the inheritance, Yui said. You haven't completed your mission until you have successfully accepted the inheritance. Okay. Yushu sighed and asked. When are you leaving? Wait for my notice. This time, I just want you to be mentally prepared. It will be a few months at least, a year or 2 at most, Yui said. Don't tell anyone about this, including Lin Yi. I know. Yushu nodded and replied helplessly. Okay, I'm hanging up. Yui hung up as soon as he finished speaking. Yushu was left alone, standing on the balcony in a daze. After a while, she came back to her senses, put away her phone, and walked in the direction of the classroom. For the rest of the class, Yushu was a little absent-minded, and she was not as lively as before. Meng Yao was quite puzzled and couldn't help but ask after school. Chu, what's wrong? Is there something on your mind? What can I have on my mind, Yao Yao sis? Why are you asking this? Yushu grinned. Naturally, she wouldn't admit it. Although the inheritance wasn't a secret, the hidden house didn't allow Yushu to say it. Using her parents as a threat, Yushu naturally didn't dare to say it. In fact, Yui was also afraid that Lin Yi would cause trouble. Now that Lin Yi was not the same as before, if Lin Yi strongly stopped Yushu from accepting the inheritance, then Lin Yi would definitely be attacked by the 5 Elements sect, but the hidden house would also be implicated, and naturally, the loss would not be worth the gain. Chapter 2932. Of course not. Yushu nodded. Fine. Meng Yao could only let it go after hearing Yushu's words. She started to wonder if she was being too sensitive before. Right, Yao Yao sis, Shield Bro is so strong now, and he's about to step into Sky class. Have you thought about what we should do in the future? Yushu pretended to be nonchalant as she changed the topic, but only she knew that she wasn't changing the topic at all. You're talking about the gap between us and Lin Yi, right? Meng Yao was smart as well. She knew what Yushu was talking about the moment she mentioned it. Lin Yi was getting stronger and stronger, and the gap between them was getting more and more obvious. If it was just a difference in strength, then it would be fine. The girl was quiet and gentle, and it wouldn't be a problem if she didn't play with weapons. But the problem was that Lin Yi was already in Earth class late phase, and it was only a matter of time before he stepped into Sky class, and it wouldn't be long before that happened. Thus, there was a problem. The moment a cultivator stepped into the heaven rank, their appearance would remain forever unchanged. Although they would still grow older, they would always look the same after stepping into the heaven rank. Meng Yao and Yushu might not be able to see much of a gap between them and Lin Yi now, but what would they do when Lin Yi was in his 30s? Wouldn't they turn from a young girl to a young man then? But Lin Yi would still look like a young man, because Lin Yi would definitely step into Sky class within these 2 years. Meng Yao's face flashed with a hint of melancholy at the thought. There were some things that she wouldn't admit or think about in her heart, but she still cared about it. She didn't want the gap between her and Lin Yi to get bigger and bigger, she just didn't want it. Yeah, I'm a little envious of Xiao Xiao and Yin Yin sis. If there's a chance for Shu to accept the inheritance, she'll definitely go happily, Yushu said. Don't say that, it's not a good thing. Don't we still have to do something dangerous later? Meng Yao glared at Yushu, annoyed. It was supposed to be a sad thing, but Yushu's words turned it into a happy one. Yao Yao sis, I'm serious. Even if it's dangerous, it'll be worth it if we can get closer to Shield Bro. Yao Yao sis, why don't we find a chance to accept the inheritance? Yushu tempted. Shu, you have to know that not everyone can accept the inheritance. It requires a compatible constitution. How can we accept it just because we want to? Meng Yao smiled bitterly. Get rid of that unrealistic idea. Let Lin Yi find us some training arts suitable for our constitutions. That's the right thing to do. Maybe one of the sects will take a liking to Shu, Yushu said. Haha. Meng Yao and Yushu only remembered that Han Jingjing hadn't come today. They'd been riding her BMW X5 M2, and from school all this time they weren't used to not seeing Han Jingjing's car all of a sudden. Only then did Meng Yao remember that they'd come to school in Lin Yi's Jeep this morning, and Lin Yi had told them that Han Jingjing was going into seclusion to research a new invention. She'd probably be in seclusion for a while. Lin Yi greeted Meng Yao and Yushu as they walked over. Lin Yi had come back from home to pick them up. Xiao Chao's in the car already? Meng Yao said as she glanced at the front passenger seat. In. Lin Yi nodded and turned to ask. Little Chao, how is your sister? I don't know, she went into her room and never came out, Xiao Chao said weakly as he put down the book in his hand. All right. Lin Yi couldn't ask too many questions to a bookworm like that. He probably didn't care about his sister's invention at all. It didn't make much of a difference to him. On the way home, Lin Yi's phone rang again. What surprised Lin Yi was that it was Zhao Qikuan. Qikuan, why were you calling at this hour? Lin Yi knew that Qikuan had been very busy lately, fighting with Zhao Qibing for the position of heir. Both of them were fighting openly and secretly at home, and he didn't have time to chat with Lin Yi. Boss, it's like this weekend. Grandpa's treating you to dinner at our hidden house, Zhao. Of course, if you don't like this place, you can go to another restaurant, Qikuan said excitedly. Grandpa said that he wants to confirm the relationship between you and our hidden house, Zhao, and also confirm my position as the heir. Oh? Lin Yi paused. He didn't think that old Zhao would have made the decision already. Old Zhao had said that he would treat him to dinner as an apology, and his attitude towards Qikuan had changed a lot, but it seemed like he would still struggle for a few days. But now, it seemed like it was settled. As for old Zhao saying that they could go to another restaurant, it was probably because he was afraid that Lin Yi would think that there would be a problem if he went to the hidden house Zhao's turf. But with Lin Yi's strength, a mere hidden house Zhao wasn't a threat at all. Naturally, Lin Yi agreed without hesitation. This weekend? What time exactly? Saturday, 11 noon. Boss, you agree? Qi could tell from Lin Yi's tone that he had agreed. And let's go to your hidden house, Zhao, then. I'll be there around 10. Lin Yi said. Since it was an invitation from Qi, Lin Yi naturally had to give him face. After hanging up, Meng Yao asked, You have something going on this weekend? And Zhao Qi said that the hidden house Zhao invited me to dinner, so I have to go. Lin Yi nodded. You have something going on? It's nothing, actually. It's just that Shu and I haven't gone shopping in a long time, and we want you to come with us. Meng Yao said. Oh, I'll go with you guys on Sunday then. Lin Yi nodded, thinking that it must have been hard on them. When he wasn't home, they were afraid of running into enemies and giving him trouble. They didn't even go to the mall. And, by the way, Lin Yi, do you have a plan for our practitioner's arts? Meng Yao asked casually. After all, she cared a lot about Shu's suggestion. Chapter 29:33. After all, practitioners' arts were different from martial arts. They had to keep training in one, and if they changed to something else halfway, the success rate would be extremely low. It'd be easy for them to lose all of their skills. Therefore, Lin Yi didn't dare to let them step onto the path of cultivation. Shield bro, what do you think about me and Yao Yao finding a place to receive our inheritances? Yushu said suddenly. Inheritances? Where? Lin Yi blinked. It's like going to some fire element or metal element sect to receive their inheritance. Yushu said. Shu, don't get carried away. Meng Yao kicked Yushu helplessly. Even if you've gone crazy thinking about strength, you don't have to be so unreasonable. Oh. Yushu shut her mouth in disappointment. Lin Yi shook his head with a smile, not taking Yushu's words seriously. After all, inheritances were something that anyone could receive. Then the Ice Palace and Yellow Earth High sects wouldn't have to spend so much effort to find inheritors. Alright, let's not think about that. I've reached the ancient level now. If there's a chance, I'll help you guys ask for a suitable practitioner's arts. Lin Yi comforted. Alright, there's no rush. Meng Yao didn't want to burden Lin Yi. She was worried, but she acted like she didn't care. Haha. Lin Yi knew the Miss personality very well. He smiled mischievously and didn't expose her. Haha, what haha? The Miss blushed when Lin Yi saw through her. She glared at Lin Yi. Drive properly! Lin Yi was speechless. He couldn't even smile. Right, Shield bro, why did that old Zhao change his mind all of a sudden? Zhao Qibin came out just a few days ago. Yushu felt that the hidden house Zhao was a little strange. There's no conspiracy, right? Shu, why are you always talking about conspiracy theories? Meng Yao didn't think much of it. Didn't House Zhao send us 200 million a few days ago? I just feel that something's up. Yushu said. Alright, I'll be careful then. Lin Yi nodded. He had to admit that Yushu's sixth sense was quite accurate sometimes. He felt that House Zhao's attitude had changed a little too quickly, but House Zhuang and House Pai were just as quick to act as the wind blew. In the next few days, Lin Yi asked for leave from Boss Bai. Apart from driving Meng Yao and the others to and from school in the morning and evening, he spent the rest of his time at home practicing the forging fire. However, this wasn't something that could be achieved overnight, so Lin Yi had to calm down and practice hard. In the blink of an eye, it was Saturday. Lin Yi drove to the hidden Zhao family's manor early in the morning. But even though Lin Yi left at 7 in the morning, it still took him more than 3 hours to reach the hidden house Zhao's manor. Perhaps it was because old Zhao had informed the guards, but the guards on the private road in front of the manor didn't stop Lin Yi at all. They let him pass after seeing Lin Yi's car. At the entrance of the manor, Lin Yi saw Zhao Qikun waiting for him. Beside him was Elder Zhao and Qibing, who had an awkward look on his face. Boss! Qikun was very excited to see Lin Yi's car. Lin Yi! Old Zhao looked a little embarrassed as well, but he still cupped his fists and said solemnly. This was a formal greeting to Lin Yi. He called him Lin Yi Sr., so naturally, the hidden house Zhao recognized Lin Yi's identity. Haha, Lin Yi boss, nice to meet you. Qi-kun thought that there was no turning back. After the awkwardness, he became more enthusiastic. Lin Yi boss, I heard that you came to me to help me break my legs. I wasn't there at the time, so forgive me. Do you have time today? Help me break my legs once. Qibing. Old Zhao frowned and glared at Qibing. Why are you bringing this up at a time like this? Lin Yi Sr. is here to eat. If you want to break your legs, you'll have plenty of chances in the future. Our hidden house Zhao is Lin Yi Sr.'s vassal house. Are you worried that you won't have a chance? Qibing was silent after hearing the old man's words, a flash of hatred in his eyes. He looked at Qi-kun beside him, but didn't say anything else. One had to admit that Qibing's acting was quite good, expressing his anger towards old Zhao but not daring to voice it out, as well as his anger towards Qi-kun for taking his position as the heir of the house. It was very subtle, but it was very subtle. Qibing's hatred disappeared in a flash, but Lin Yi still caught it. However, it was easier for Lin Yi to understand the changes in House Zhao. It seemed that old Zhao's heart had shifted to Qi-kun. Otherwise, Qibing wouldn't be this resentful, making a request like this regardless of the situation. It's fine. If you want to break my legs, you'll have plenty of chances in the future, Lin Yi said faintly with a wave of his hand. Senior Lin, I have already prepared a banquet in the banquet hall. Do you want to eat first, or do you want me to bring you around the house to take a look at the hidden treasure vault of our Zhao family? Old Master Zhao asked. Let's eat first, Lin Yi said. Right now, Lin Yi wasn't too curious about the hidden house's treasury. Lin Yi's strength had touched the ancient level, and so Lin Yi's horizons were much higher now. Plus, Lin Yi had seen most of the hidden house's treasures at the Hidden House Summit. All right, this way please. Old Master Zhao nodded and made a please gesture. Lin Yi followed Elder Zhao to the Hidden House Zhao's banquet hall, and saw Zhao Guangying busying himself, personally directing the disciples to serve the dishes. Zhao Guangying saw Lin Yi and walked over immediately. He said respectfully, Lin Yi Sr., you're here. Please take a seat. With that, Zhao Guangying pointed at the head seat to Lin Yi, letting Lin Yi sit there. Lin Yi didn't try to be courteous. He came to House Zhao to take in a follower, so he didn't need to be polite. After sitting down, Lin Yi noticed that Qi-kun and Qibing were standing at the side. Only old Zhao and Zhao Guangying sat down after him. He couldn't help but feel strange. Qi-tan, why aren't you sitting? Chapter 2934. Lin Yi smiled. It's fine, isn't it just a meal? We can all eat together, there's no need for a waiter. Haha, Senior Lin, you don't have to say anything. They're juniors, it's only natural for them to serve you tea. Old man Zhao laughed, waved his hand and said, Senior Lin, let Qi-tan pour some wine for you. All right. Since old Zhao had said so, Lin Yi didn't insist. This was hiding House Zhao, and Lin Yi couldn't not give old Zhao face. After all, things were different now, and House Zhao was Lin Yi's vassal house. Qi-tan, pour the wine, Qibing, take the dishes. There's so many dishes, help Senior Lin take some. Look after Senior Lin as well if he runs out of wine, pour it immediately. Old Dao ordered. Yes, Grandpa. Qi-kun and Qibing replied at the same time. Senior Lin, since it's a family banquet, there's no need to be so formal. Do you think we can start eating? Old Zhao knew that Lin Yi didn't like those rules, so he asked directly. Sure. Lin Yi nodded. Let's eat. With that, Lin Yi started moving his chopsticks, picking up a piece of vegetable and putting it in his mouth. Old Zhao and Guangying waited for Lin Yi to start eating before picking up their chopsticks. Qi-kun, on the other hand, was busy pouring tea and wine for the three. Qibing, on the other hand, was busy putting food into Lin Yi and old Zhao's bowl. Every time he took food, there were 2 portions, one for Lin Yi and the other for old Zhao. As for Guangying, he didn't care. This was understandable. It was normal for Zhao Qibing to serve Lin Yi and elder Zhao. Zhao Guangying was the weakest of the two, so it was fine for him to take the food. If Zhao Qibing took the food too, it wouldn't be able to show off Lin Yi's high status. Old Zhao, on the other hand, was the head of the house, and an old man. Qibing was doing this out of respect, and it was reasonable. Senior Lin, I, Zhao Guanyin, offer you a toast. After eating a few mouthfuls of food, Zhao Guanyin picked up his wine glass and stood up. He said to Lin Yi, "Previously, our hidden Zhao family offended Senior Lin. We hope that Senior Lin will forgive us. We didn't recognize NT Tai before, but luckily for us, Hidden House Zhao has someone with good eyes, Zhao Qikuan. I believe that under Senior Lin's leadership, the hidden Zhao family will definitely become stronger and stronger." "You're welcome." Lin Yi didn't have a good impression of Guanyin before, but he felt that this guy was quite cruel, even wanting to kill Qin Shi. Now that he had accepted Qikuan's hidden house, he couldn't be too harsh on Guanyin. He said faintly, "If Zhao Qibing can return to the hidden house, then Qin Shi can too, right? Is it possible for her to become the female head of the family?" "Ah? This?" Zhao Guanyin hadn't expected Lin Yi to ask such a question. This wasn't within his expectations. He was at a loss for words and didn't know how to answer. "Light Seal! Didn't you hear what Senior Lin said? Later, we'll bring Qin Shi and her mother back to the family. From what I see, Qin Shi's mother is very virtuous. She's more than qualified to be your wife." Old Master Zhao glared at Zhao Guanyin. Yes. Senior Lin, father, I'll bring Qin Shi and her mother back to the hidden house tomorrow," Guanyin said quickly. "Senior Lin, as for the position of head of the family." Old Zhao heard Lin Yi say that Qin Shi would be the female head of the family, and he looked troubled. "Actually, during this banquet, I've decided to let Qikuan be the next head of the hidden house, Qin Shi." Elder Zhao's words made Qibing's face change. His hand shook, and the food he picked up fell to the ground with a thud. It was obvious that he was shaking all over at this moment. Lin Yi saw Qibing's situation and frowned slightly. Could it be that Elder Zhao didn't say anything earlier and only announced his decision when he was invited to the banquet? Otherwise, why would Qibing react like this? "Qibing, what are you doing?" Old Zhao's eyes sharpened as he glared at Qibing. "You can't even do a dish properly. What's the use of keeping you?" "Grandpa. I'm sorry," my hand shook. Qibing's face was very ugly, and he was about to cry. "Humph, don't embarrass yourself. Although I plan to pass the position of successor to the young family head to Qitan, you will definitely be an elder in the hidden Zhao family. It's just that your relationship with Senior Lin wasn't good before, so I didn't place you in the position of successor to the young family head because I was protecting you. Do you understand?" Old man Zhao snorted coldly and said, "When you become the successor of the young master, Senior Lin will definitely not be happy." "I understand, Grandpa," Qibing said, his face pale. Lin Yi looked at Qibing, deep in thought. Although it all looked very real, Lin Yi felt that it was a little unnatural. Since old Zhao had already invited him to dinner and made House Zhao his vassal, then Qikuan's ascension was unstoppable. Even if Qibing was an idiot, he shouldn't be unable to understand this, right? Why did it seem like Qibing really didn't know about this, and was still fantasizing about him becoming the heir? But if he really looked into it, Lin Yi really couldn't see the reason. What was Qibing doing today? It seemed like Qibing's attitude wasn't bad. After being scolded by old Zhao, he started to seriously put food in Lin Yi's bowl. Although his face was still a little pale, he didn't ask any more questions. Qibing's speed wasn't fast, so every dish he took, Lin Yi would taste it. 1. It was to give face to House Zhao, and 2. It was because Lin Yi was really hungry. With Lin Yi's appetite, Qibing's way of putting food in was a little too little. It wasn't until Lin Yi had tasted all the dishes that Qibing asked, "Senior Lin, what do you think is good? I'll put more in for you." "They're all good." The chefs of House Zhao should be able to compete with 5-star hotels. They sure know how to enjoy themselves. Lin Yi was a master chef, and if even Lin Yi thought the dishes tasted good, the chef must be someone extraordinary. Haha, I'm sorry. If Senior Lin likes it, you can come here more often. Old Dao smiled. Chapter 29:35. Lin Yi ate another round. It was almost enough. He was basically full, so he said, "Old Master Zhao, let's talk about serious business now." "Yes, it's time to talk about serious business." Old Master Zhao narrowed his eyes and smiled, but his smile was particularly strange. "What are you laughing at?" Lin Yi frowned. "Lin Yi, how do you feel now?" Old Master Zhao suddenly asked. After hearing Old Master Zhao's question, Lin Yi was shocked. Previously, Old Master Zhao called him Senior Lin. Suddenly, he called Lin Yi, which made Lin Yi feel that something was wrong. Moreover, Old Master Zhao asked him how he was. Could there be a problem? "What do you mean?" Lin Yi looked at Old Master Zhao coldly and asked. "Could it be that you want to play some tricks again?" "Hee, Lin Yi, it's time for you to pay the debt you owe to our Zhao family." As Old Master Zhao said this, he stood up and looked at Lin Yi with a smile that wasn't a smile. He asked, "Lin Yi, don't you think there's anything wrong? You're poisoned." "Poisoned?" Lin Yi was stunned and immediately asked, "You poisoned the food?" However, although Lin Yi asked this, he didn't believe it. After all, Lin Yi lived in a medicine pot since he was young. He was quite sensitive to poison. If there was poison in the food, he would definitely notice it. It wouldn't be like now, where he didn't notice it. Moreover, Lin Yi's jade pendant had an early warning function. If the food was really poisonous and could kill him, there would definitely be an early warning. However, Lin Yi hadn't received any warning signal until now, so this was also the reason why Lin Yi didn't believe it. "Not bad, you can give it a try. Circulate the mantra and see what happens." Old Master Zhao looked at Lin Yi and said calmly, "Circulate the mantra?" Lin Yi subconsciously activated the art of dragon mastery, but in the next moment, he was shocked to find that he couldn't move the qi in his body at all. The art of dragon mastery didn't work at all. What was going on? Lin Yi was shocked. It was as if the vital energy in his body was being suppressed by something. Not only could he not circulate the mantra, but Lin Yi even discovered that he could not condense the most basic vital energy bomb. "What do you think? You can't take it anymore, right? Have you become a soft-footed shrimp?" Ha 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 ha. When Old Man Zhao saw Lin Yi's expression, he knew that Lin Yi had fallen for the trick. Needless to say, the poison provided by the Hidden Yu family was really useful. "How did you do it?" Lin Yi asked with a gloomy expression. "This poison is an ancient poison. However, it is not a poison because it will not cause you to die, nor will it affect your normal life. It will only suppress your strength and make you an ordinary person who cannot use your strength," Old Man Zhao explained. "What? Ancient poison?" Lin Yi's eyes swept across the dishes on the table. Lin Yi had eaten every dish on the table, but Lin Yi couldn't tell which dish was the problem. That was impossible. Even if it wasn't poison, as long as it would harm his body, why didn't the jade warn him? "That's right, ancient poison. You don't need to look at it. Actually, I poisoned them separately. Each herb is actually not poisonous, but when mixed together, it will become poison," Old Man Zhao said faintly. "This method of poisoning, Lin Yi, you should be familiar with it, right? Zhao Yaowang?" Lin Yi suddenly remembered that when he was in Songshan's first high school, there was a mass poisoning incident. At that time, Zhong Pingliang used the deadly 7 herbs poison that Zhao Yaowang had given him and put it in each dish one by one, using the mixing method to poison them. "Haha, looks like you're not stupid. You could cure the poison last time, but not this time, because there's no cure." Elder Zhao laughed. "Lin Yi, how is it? You didn't think of this even in your dreams, did you? Haha, just now, I told Shibing to put in each dish for you so that you would be poisoned unknowingly. I didn't expect Zhao Yaowang to have this kind of ability, I forgot about it." Lin Yi didn't think much of it this time. After all, Zhao Yaowang had used the same method to poison others before, so naturally, Lin Yi thought that it was Zhao Yaowang who made the poison. Lin Yi, on the other hand, finally understood why there was no warning. Because there was no problem with the herbs in this poison. He ate them separately, and there was no danger when he ate each dish separately. Although the jade pendant could warn him of danger, it couldn't intelligently analyze the poisoned dishes when they were mixed together. Moreover, perhaps it was because this poison wasn't poison at all, but a type of medicine. It wouldn't bring any danger to Lin Yi, so the jade pendant ignored it. No matter what, Lin Yi still fell for it. But Lin Yi felt strange. Old man Zhao, when Zhao Qibing gave me the dish, you ate it too. I saw you eat it, so I ate it. Since there's no cure for this poison, why are you fine after eating it? Ha ha ha, idiot! Old man Zhao continued laughing. This poison only works on practitioners below sky class. It's useless for those above sky class, it's automatically dissolved. Unfortunately, although I'm only sky class early phase, I'm a true sky class master. And you, although you can kill a sky class mid-phase master, you're still an earth class late phase master. So, this poison doesn't work on me, but it works on you. What do you think? You were tricked, right? You ate it just because I ate it? Lin Yi's mouth twitched. He didn't think that old man Zhao would be so sinister, scheming like this. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seems like you didn't plan to call me boss at all. You've always treated me as an enemy. Lin Yi asked this, but in reality, he was stalling for time to find a solution. But what made Lin Yi helpless was that no matter how he looked, he couldn't find an effective solution. This poison, just like what old man Zhao said, couldn't be cured. He was an earth class late phase master, and his strength was stuck here. What could he do? Even if he could find a solution, at least there wasn't a good one right now. That's right, Lin Yi, you think too highly of yourself. I'm a sky class master, do you think I'll give in to you? Old man Zhao humphed coldly. Today, we'll settle old and new debts together. Zhao Qibing, take him down. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.